This conference will now be recorded.
The time being 4:47 p.m., I'd like to call the meeting of October 6, 2022 to order. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So just for a note for the other select board members, if you haven't seen it, I decided to move the minutes to the end of the meeting so that we can move forward with what we have here. So first order of business, I'd like to make a motion to accept 2 anonymous donations in the amount of $60 and $170 made to the Tilton Senior Center for the display of lights event.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion passes.
Thank you to that donor.
Yes, great. So big thanks to the anonymous donor for that donation. It means a lot. It's a real bit. So at the suggestion of Town Administrator, I think what we'll do is ask Town Administrator Forrester to give her Town Administrator's report at this time.
Okay. I'll try to get it all done. So you all got my report. You all got my report. I just want to touch base with you about the welfare guidelines to see if anyone has had a chance to review it, if they're ready to approve it. I think the way we last left it, you were going to send your questions directly to Heather. And so I just didn't know where it was at. If you want to hold off on this for the next meeting, or
I'd rather do it with Selectman Constantino in attendance.
so we'll,
Yep, agreed.
I mean, later on.
Health Trust transition from the current salary reduction model. I'm not going to read it all to you, but it's essentially they've created another way to handle the FSA. The document is in the file for you to sign. So it's just less administrative burden. So when you see that, that's what that is. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that. The LED project with Affinity is now complete, actually. I did my report on Tuesday, and they informed me that it's done, and they actually sent over a document for us to get. If you remember, we were supposed to get some incentive money through Eversource. They sent that over. It does need to be signed. It has one signature line on it, and this basically, once you sign this document, we will get a check from Eversource for $13,930. Didn't know if the board wanted to, because I just got it, if you want to have me email it to you and you can take a look at it, or if you're ready to sign it.
I haven't read it at all.
So you want me to go ahead and send it?
If you would.
Yeah,
I'd like to take care of it. I like $13,000, but
Okay.
They look nice, by the way.
Next item, Winnisquam Regional School Board would like to post school board meeting information on the variable message board. This year, apparently their meeting locations will be changing on a rotating basis, and just wanted to check with the board to see if they're okay with them using the message board.
I'm a yes.
Which message board?
The variable message, the one that Kevin sets up on the side of the road.
Oh, just temporary, or is it going to be permanently placed?
No, just as meetings come up to inform. So if they're having a meeting next week, they'd send us an email and say, could you put the variable message board up saying this is where we're having our meeting?
If it doesn't conflict with us.
Yeah. I'll ask I won't ask I'll just ask the question. I wonder, have they asked Northfield and Sambleton to do the same thing?
They didn't.
I know I'm splitting hairs, but if it's a school district, then it should be in all three municipalities that request as well.
I don't, that's a good
Okay.
good question, I'll ask. I don't know that those two communities have variable message boards.
I think Northfield does because they put it on the DPW site usually.
I can ask them.
Okay. Or some kind of posting, Singleton's done it. But yeah, I'm for it because it's better to keep our folks informed as long as it's not a huge burden on our DPW.
So do you have consensus or?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking just special meetings, not, I don't know, maybe once a month, is it? How often is this going to be up? Is it, and where is it? What's it going to look like? Work to get set up.
School board meetings once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah.
I think, personally, special meetings, case by case, according to what we're setting things up, we would have first priority.
Right, so that sounds like two different, well, you're saying only for special meetings and only if it doesn't conflict with our meetings. Is that what you're saying?
With anything that we're using the sign for.
Right.
Yeah,
So only for special.
like the elect. I mean, if we're thinking about when we want the election posting on that,
So
that would trump that.
it would not be their monthly meetings. It would be only for special meetings and as long as it doesn't conflict with whatever word, if we are going to be using it. Okay. Does everybody agree with that?
No. I see what John's doing, but if they're moving the monthly meeting, then I think we should try to accommodate them as long as it doesn't interfere with the town's use of the board. But I would be in favor of the monthly meetings as well. It's a big section of our budget, and the more people that know about it, and the more people that question it, and I think the better it is for everybody.
I agree with Joe.
So do we need an actual motion here? Okay, well then I would make a motion to allow for the school district's use of the variable message board for their monthly and yearly meetings. As long as it doesn't coincide with the use of the board by the town of Tilton.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item, we received an email from Kathy Tobin from the fire district. Their meeting last, I guess, would have been on Tuesday. The Board of Commissioners voted to petition Belknap Superior Court for permission to hold a special district meeting regarding pressurized hydrants. Public hearing will be on October 14th at 7 p.m. at the Tilton PD EOC. The special district meeting will be October 24th at 7 p.m. at the Winnisquam Regional High School cafeteria. They want to know if they can use the message board to get this information to as many residents as possible.
Can you go over the dates again, please?
October 14th at 7 o'clock is the public hearing at the Tilton PD EOC. And the special district meeting will be on October 24th at 7 o'clock at the Winnisquam Regional High School.
Does this conflict with anything we currently have on the book?
Not that I'm aware of. We have the public hearing on October 20th for the Tilton Island Bridge, which will be at the EOC. So we would probably want to put that up. No, I don't. I don't think it would, I think we could pull it.
That still gives them a few
Yeah.
days for the one on the 24th, right?
What about our Halloween?
Yeah, we got trunk or treat too.
We
What's
could
that?
get it
What
right
about our
back.
Halloween?
What about on Halloween?
We could get it
Don't
right
we
back
advertise
after
a
the
few days?
24th.
Ahead of time?
I would think, yes, you do, but I would think that would fit because they're talking about doing it on October 24th, so you do it before that time. And just trying to find my date. So October 24th, you probably put it up on the like 19th, 20th, 21st. You could then put Halloween up on the 25th because the event is on the 29th.
Where we usually put this on?
It depends. I mean, usually it's by Park Street, you know.
Down by the bridge, so, yeah.
I would make a motion to allow the fire district to use the variable message board to advertise their 2 meetings. And I'm sure Kevin, well, I'll just shut up. That's my motion.
Second, motion and a second discussion. Mr. Chestnut.
I'm sure Kevin can, doesn't need specific direction on dates. No.
They can't get a message variable from any other fire department around nearby to do this? Or Northfield? Are we the only ones that have one?
But I think the same request is going to Northfield for their message variable board.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Abstain?
All those opposed? None. 4 ayes and Selectman Pyra abstains.
I sent the board a copy of the light lamp posts that are going to be installed, just so you can see what it looks like. Kevin and I went out with Josh Carter this week just to see where the placement of the lamp post would be and the height of the lamp post. So you had previously approved the expenditure for 5 lamp posts, but I just wanted to make sure you saw what the lamp posts look like, and I didn't hear any concerns come back, so I'm gonna assume we can move forward.
I like them a lot.
Yeah, I think they're very, I just double checking.
I think I responded to that effect, I think.
He will wire in for additional ones, correct? That was,
No,
just,
actually, we had that conversation, and they don't believe that we need to add.
really, that it'll throw enough light.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, if the new LED light posts or anything, if they're a clue as to how much light it's gonna throw. It no longer is like Stranger Things near my house, so it's the lights on and off, flickering.
I just wanted to let you know that we had somebody that we were going to, a couple more things that are not on my report. We had someone who was going to do the mural on the island. It doesn't appear to be happening, so I'm going to reach out to Terry Smith at Tilton School, who's volunteered to help us with murals in the past, and see if she has any interest in doing a mural. Just got today from Eric mirror the agreement. I have copies, it's fairly simple, but the board may want to take time and look at it before I have the document to be signed, but it can wait if you want, everybody wants to take a look at it before they sign it.
And one extra.
Oh, I had made one for Tim, but he's looked at it.
I'm good with it.
Yes.
I guess I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, those in favor of the motion to accept the collective bargaining agreement amendment, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Oh, here's John, here's the.
Oh.
Be the top signature.
So while you're signing that, another item that came to me after I wrote my report, the National Trust Grant Agreement. This is for the Island Historic Landscape Plan. I will send that to all of you and you can take a look at that, but it's just the grant agreement. So I will forward that in the email and you can review it. You saw the FYI about the right to know. Just crazy, but I'm going to be working, I think you probably know I'm on the board of NHMA. And I've talked to them about filing legislation to address this because this is, I think, egregious.
It's the second time that's happened to us.
Yes, but this one was pretty bad.
Yeah, really bad, yeah, I agree.
And yet, I'm not surprised.
And then, the only other thing I have, actually two other things. One is, I just wanted to say this to the board in public, because I've gotten 2 calls now from residents asking me whether I want to be town manager here in Tilton. And I want to let everyone know that it's something I never asked for. I've never asked this board to be town manager. Don't have any interest in being town manager. I don't think it would work in this community. And I just wanted the public to know, to put that rumor out there to rest, because that's simply not true. And the last thing I have is, I'm gonna be out for a week. So I'll be out next week, I'll be out on Friday of next week. And I'll be back on 17th. Y'all have my cell phone if there's any emergency.
Selectman Constantino?
I just have one thing in the to be signed folder. Can we make housekeeping and make official a motion to officially pay this person?
You did it in a non-public, but
An official motion and accept this person? I don't think we did officially, separately, this person.
yes, you did.
There was a number of names that we,
Let's do it right now.
there was a number of names that we chose and said, go ahead forth and choose, but we didn't actually go ahead and, I think you chose it, so I think we just need to make a motion to do that. I'm not saying it's wrong,
Go ahead and make the
Jeannie,
motion.
just saying it's housekeeping to just go ahead and make a motion to accept it. Do it.
Your microphone.
Oh,
I make a motion to hire Megan Hyra as a temporary administrative assistant. Effective date 9/19/22 at the rate of $22 an hour.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion.
I would say that she stepped into a gap from 9/19 to 9/23, and this is not a regular appointment.
Any further discussion? Of those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Abstain.
Actually,
Four affirmative.
Nobody
and
accused
one
him.
abstention.
because abstain is positive.
I recuse.
So,
Refuse to vote.
Four affirmative and one recusal.
That's it for me.
In one of your notes, Selectman Constantino and Selectman Jesselman, I think it'll be a great photo opportunity next week when you go to become educators for a little bit of time.
Well, unless things have changed again, the plan has changed.
Oh, it did?
Okay. Nope,
Okay.
it's changed yet.
Okay. Right. Just, I think a photo to send through to Mr. Pearson to
Absolutely.
put up on when they go to Southwood School. Yeah, so that we can acknowledge that time that you're spending.
You might have time to go through 1 side minutes.
Okay,
Oh, well, they're supposed to be here 5:15.
yeah, we got
Time,
5 minutes.
I don't know. We go through selectmen's reports.
Traffic could be bad coming across the park though. Might be a train they have to wait
Who's
for.
first on selectmen reports?
Mr. Jesselman, if you wanted to try a Selectman.
Sure, mine's real quick, because I don't have any specific Tilton stuff, but this is Columbus Day weekend. And this big fair out in Salem. So please come on out. It's the last fair and overlooks the valley. And it is beautiful up there right now. So we'll see you there. That's it.
Mr. Pyra,
I have a few things. Just a reminder, I don't know if this is going to steal from your thunder, but on Thursday, October 20th, we have a hearing on the Tilton Island Bridge preservation and restoration at the Police Department Community Room at 6 p.m. on the 20th. Don't forget, on Saturday, October 29th, we have our children's costume parade from 4 to 5 p.m. And then from 3:30 to 5:30, we have trunk or treat right on downtown. The Parks Commission is presenting a murder mystery performance at the Tilton Senior Center. Come watch and participate in Best Laid Plans, a comedic murder mystery spoof October 15th from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Tilton Senior Center. Tickets must be purchased in advance. They only cost $5. They may be purchased from Bryant and Lawrence Hardware or from any Park Commission member. Snacks and drinks will be available for purchase. There is a scarecrow contest going on town-wide from October 1st to October 28th. There is a link on the town website on how to submit your scarecrow. And also the Parks Commission will present On the Wing Bird Show on Saturday, October 15th. Action-packed day at Riverfront Park Pavilion at 11 a.m. And then we also have fall cleanup coming up, October 12th, 13th, and 14th. Kevin's favorite week of the year, second favorite week of the year. And that is, I have to say that the, and then there's a, as Jeannie already mentioned, but since I had it in my notes, there is a public hearing on next Friday, October 14th at the Tilton Police Department Community Room about the hydrant warrant in a special district meeting. And there's a special district meeting for the Tilton Northfield Fire District on Monday, October 24th, 7 p.m. at Wintersworm Regional High School. And the new lights look really nice. That's all I have.
I think we'll stop there. We'll do Selectmen Scanlon, Selectmen Constantine, and myself later in the agenda. And we now have, now I'd like to invite the commissioners of Tilton Northfield Aqueduct Company up to discuss liability waiver agreement in terms of the Academy Street building. Gentlemen, if you'd like to pull some chairs up as close to the microphone as you get so that our administrative assistant is happy with what she can hear. So, gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to have a discussion about the liability waiver agreement in terms of the Academy Street wall repair.
Do you guys have copies of it?
Did you send it to us?
Who drafted it? Return. Me and Marcia. Yeah.
Give me a second to find it.
Have you seen this?
It's not what it is.
Couple weeks ago.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, an extra copy. Can we make a copy?
Ooh, that's.
I could use a hard copy. Please.
Yeah, make me one.
We can share this if you want.
I'm guessing I've got one, but I don't know where.
I don't, I have one.
It's this one right here.
I don't know.
We don't have
Access
it in our
property
books.
damage indemnification. September 29th. It was titled TNWT.
I have one. Joe needs one and Scott needs one.
I'll take one too, just so
And Eric.
How about you, John?
just round it out.
Good. John.
I'm good.
I think it's basically a cookie cutter kind of thing, ain't it?
Everybody, everywhere has one. They're all cookie cutter. You know? You try to modify it, adapt it to the circumstances. This is everything the road was closed.
Good thing doesn't work in one lawn, because we know that too.
Definitely a part of this conversation.
Yeah, he's,
He's right there, and I'm just wondering if you want to come up, not as a member of their board, but to answer questions.
It's a genie, maybe.
Yeah. Kevin, if you want to come up over there. it's up to you.
He's at no.
Well, there's gonna be questions, and you're gonna need to have a microphone here, so.
This-
No, no, I'm the board assistant. Don't be good.
Warm up here. It's hot up here.
Cutting back on air conditioning.
Here. John, you want one?
I'm all set. Thanks.
Oh, you're all set.
Got some birth through it.
Oh, I just thought of a lawyer joke.
I'm so shocked.
Wait till he leaves, would you?
Oh, no, that my disdain for lawyers is well known.
I like lawyer jokes, so go
I
ahead.
was just reading number 11. It says, you guys get paid by the word, do you?
Well, yeah,
Yes or no, if the sun falls out of the sky, no matter whatever happens, anytime, anywhere, we agree to hold you harmless.
So I don't know who's going to start this, but I think I will. So this came about because when the town was getting ready to repair that wall or rebuild it, I called our insurance company, which is Primex, which is the same insurance company as the town's. And I asked Primex that the question was, if the town of Tilton puts us on as additionally insured, are we covered? And they said absolutely no. They said you need a hold harmless agreement, indemnifications, I guess it's called, but basically, and they said we will not help you write it, and we will not help the town write one, because we're the same insurance carrier as both of you. So with that, we called our attorney, and this is what she came up with in the short of it. So basically, the insurance said if something were to happen and they were on our property without this agreement, that the liability would be on us. So obviously that's,
Well, I have something to point out.
Yep.
Under number 8, it says that we will reimburse you for any and all repairs and the paving and whatever if your water main breaks 2.5 years after the project is complete. Why would we do that?
so
2.5 years seems a long time from
what we asked for was, and this is, I guess, where the agreement doesn't agree with everybody, or maybe the whole thing, I don't know, but was for a $50,000 bond, surety bond. And all it is an insurance policy. That if something should happen, because of that wall, I mean, I don't know if everybody's familiar with how they built old walls back in the day. Big, huge boulders are on the bottom, and then they get smaller as they go to the top. So we have no idea, because part of that is sloped in already and buried, those big rocks. You don't know how big they are, and whether or not can they be removed without hitting the water main, undermining. And so the concern is that that's going to get undermined during this project. If it settles and breaks after you get that wall built, and then the next thing we know it's blowing the wall out because it broke, then the liability becomes on the water company to pay to have a new wall fixed again.
Joe, your issue was with, what I think I heard from you was your issue is with the 3 years?
For 3 years. It seems like a long time to hold us hostage to a water main, although I understand
Well,
what he's saying.
it's not, that's why
Have you looked
the
inside
bond
the
is,
crack in the wall where it came down?
would say that
Have
again.
you looked at the spot where the rocks came out
Yeah.
from our,
Yeah, we have.
I
and
have
what's
I have pictures of
behind
it.
those bigger rocks?
Those are fairly good sized ones, but that's near the top. That's not even near the bottom.
Oh, no, I get that, but the rubble that they filled that road in with
Correct.
is what concerns me, which is not your concern, it's our road, but quite frankly, that could settle at any time. Act of
Absolutely.
God.
It could,
Nothing
if
to
it
do
broke
with the
right now,
project.
it would be our responsibility if it broke right now, right? And it washed that wall out, it would be our responsibility to repair it at this point.
Just seems like 3 years is a long time.
Well, maybe you can change the time.
We can-
I just brought up, this is something, we have to put
We
up
can
bonds all the
negotiate.
time with the state when we go out
We can
into the
negotiate.
state roads. But yeah, I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to hear everybody's concerns and see if we can't work this out so we can get it done. I mean, that's what we all want to do, is get it done.
What's a more reasonable time frame for you, Joe?
I'm not, I would like to defer, I would like to find out what the finance officer says, because he's the one that's gonna end up paying the bills on this. Personally,
When we open that road up, are you going to repair the water lines that are in there?
The water lines that are in there have been replaced already. I talked to Ken Money. They were replaced when he was here, so that they're not old enough for us to warrant, taking them all
So
out.
when we open that road up, you're not gonna do anything with the water at all?
No, there's nothing that needs to be done.
Approximately how old are the mains in there?
20, 25. So it was when we did a lot of the original main replacements. Shumway did that section of road.
Right.
So it's within, the last 20 years.
What is because layman,
Yep.
average life in terms of water mains, what are you guys looking at in terms of your scheduling?
The stuff that we did have in the ground, was 100 plus. This stuff should be well over 100 years.
Sure.
And that stuff was stovepipe, so it was like paper thin.
Yeah.
This stuff is ductile iron.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good pipe. So. Yeah.
Kevin, how long should we warranty? If not 3 years, what's a reasonable amount of time?
I would be comfortable with a year, with a stipulation, if I can add. During the project, if the water department could have somebody standing by to watch the excavation and the backfilling of the trench.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That
I mean,
way everybody-
No question
We had
about that.
already
There's pictures,
taken that.
There's documentation.
Yeah.
100%,
As
absolutely.
the project goes about.
Yep.
So there's no question.
Absolutely,
we agree to that.
Their spec, right?
If that's acceptable, in a year timeframe, I think is adequate
I think that's,
for a failure.
that okay?
Yeah. I mean, that's.
That okay?
Yeah.
It's okay with us, so,
Yeah.
1 year, change it.
How much does a bond for $50,000 cost the town?
It's not that much money to secure one, but the question you asked earlier for me was the issues I have were 6 through 9 were related to property damage, particularly 8 and 9. So I didn't see an issue with the indemnification hold harmless, but property damage seemed excessive.
The description?
The paragraphs, 6 through 9. I mean, if it were up to me, I would just strike those. But 8 and 9 in particular.
six, you want six, all of 6 through 9 taken out? I mean, we can't. Well, first of all, 9 is the surety bond,
Right,
so why would we strike that?
because I would be in favor of not having any warranty period for, that was just my opinion looking at it. But obviously, if you all and Kevin think a year is an appropriate time, then there would need to be something.
Haven't we done other projects in town where we haven't needed a surety bond with you folks? I mean, isn't this a little bit different here? I mean, I've been here a long time, I've not come up with a situation here in town where we've worked with you folks that you demand a surety bond, in a situation where you've worked with us on a road project.
What, you
Yeah,
speak to
yeah,
that?
if I can. We had our engineers sit in on a meeting, and in his professional opinion, that there was no way that that project can be done without undermining that water main. So, he was very fearful of this project, that without any shoring, without, proper people that have the expertise for this, he was very leery. He said, first thing I do is shut that main off and put a temporary in. He said, because there's a good chance it's gonna either get broken or break during this construction. And that's his words to me.
Kind of hard to argue with an engineer from our standpoint. I mean, you guys might take issue with that, but he's our engineer.
I'm not taking issue with it, I'm not taking issue with it. We have two factions here in town. You're a utility in town, and we're a municipality here in town. We're trying to fix a road, we're trying to work together. And you absolutely positively sure that your engineer is 100% sure that this is gonna fail. So work together. I mean, this is what it's all about. You work together and you say, if you're sure that this main is gonna fail, when we take that road out and put back in, then maybe we should work together with the engineer and say, okay, what are we gonna do with this main here? And work together instead of barking up legalities here and
We
say,
didn't come up with the
I
idea.
know,
Yeah.
I know, but this is what I'm coming up with right now, and saying, work together.
Well,
You have an engineer here that's saying, we're not gonna do this without proper installation and proper shoring of the water main. If we don't, then this is going to fail. So that's your concern right now. If this isn't shored up correctly, and we go in there, it's gonna fail. That's what John just said.
I mean,
So
basically, this,
what is it
you're looking
gonna
at,
take to do that,
you're looking at a 10-foot deep trench.
okay?
Okay, well, even though it's one-sided, it's still a 10-foot deep trench,
Mhm.
with nothing to hold that wall. That's the major concern. So how do we address that? Would be, a question I would have. How do you guarantee that that's, it rains, that road is sloped to us at this point? How do we prevent any washing if there's no shoring at all to hold it up?
I was just gonna say, maybe Kevin should speak to how he intends to do this project, because I just asked him if there was gonna be a trench, and he said no, so I just, maybe Kevin.
Well, John mentioned a one-sided trench, basically. As we remove a section of the wall, the wall blocking that I intend to put in place will go right up in place. So the entire wall won't be removed, and then without any shoring behind it, it's gonna be taken down in sections. Take down 10 feet, put up a section of walking. take down another 10 feet, put up a section of block. So as we're working down the roadway, the retaining wall goes back up as soon as it's removed. I understand the concerns with undermining the pipe, because you're exposing something that's been there for 25 years. And you're removing some support because that wall is coming away from it. Right now, that wall is coming away from it anyway, correct? Then there's sections of that road that it's actually separating because that whole section is falling away. So we do need to do something about it. I talked to a construction company about installing those steel pilings to hold the road back. It's not possible with power lines over there. We'd have to relocate power lines.
I thought that you were working on that, moving those.
Moving the power lines?
Yeah, no.
We don't have any real estate on the other side of the road to do so. We talked about relocating that one pole.
Yeah.
But that was discontinued with this new wall design because we could work around it.
Have we seen the new wall design?
I presented it last year.
Oh, okay, last year. Oh, okay.
The Stone Strong product.
Okay.
Product.
That one I remember. I thought you meant more
Yes.
recently.
7-foot piece of base. It gets smaller as it goes up. It's recessed back. It'll accept the guardrail. That's a 3/4 inch stone for drainage. Yeah, it's widely used everywhere for 75-foot retaining walls.
Okay.
So this 10-foot wall is a non-issue for this product. The issue is obviously the water main, right? And I was thinking that we could, if we work together while the project is going on, you guys could be confident with the shoring up of the water main, the compaction of the material as we do the project, so that everybody feels good at the end of the day. That was mine. But the construction of the wall, a little bit will be removed, the new wall will be put in place. So on and so forth down the project line.
Mr. Pearson.
I just had a comment a little earlier, and maybe Kevin answered some of that, but it just strikes me when I look at 8 and 9 also that the onus is on us to provide the financial backing, as opposed to, if you listen to what Kevin's saying, at least from my uninformed viewpoint, it sounds as though we are incurring costs over and above what we would normally incur for this type of project because of the fact that the water main is there. So perhaps commissioners would be willing to have some sort of cost share if there was something that we had to do over and above to satisfy the protection of that main during the project.
Have you guys ever done a project like this before?
No, I've never even heard of those Legos, those interlocking blocks. I know it needs to be done for the sake of the road, for the sake of your building. Your garage over there is right in the line of fire. I don't know if you have equipment right inside there.
Well, we mowed that area. I mean, luckily there was nobody there when that happened.
Absolutely, it's not a good thing, and we want to replace the wall. We really do.
Oh, I know. And then, my concern is the safety factor, really. I don't see this as an easy project by any means. I've dug a lot of holes for a lot of years, and that this is a dangerous project. That's my concern.
But you
There's
could
no
be
there's no
right there
room
while we were
there's no
doing
room
it,
for
right?
error here if between that building and that 10-foot deep trench. That's all I want to make everybody aware. I'm worried. So
I think opening up any road, I would be worried,
oh yeah.
particularly if there's there's water, gas, whatever it's in there. It's a project, And this is a particular difficult project because we've got buildings within a couple of feet that we're very concerned about.
But when you're usually trenching, you're dragging a trench box with you. Right, you dig 20 feet, you get a trench box, and then you dig 20 feet, you drag that trench box with you, which holds the sides up. You know, that's the kind of a bit of a concern there. That's, you know, where I see this whole road, you know, has been previously dug, the sewer, the water, the gas. So it's not stable soils. It's not soils that haven't been touched before. You know, there's different classifications of soil, and when they've already been previously dug, they're dangerous soils. So, you know, that's the concern, and it's going to be deep. I mean, so, you know, that's just where I'm coming from on that aspect of it. You know, I know any digging is dangerous, but that's why they make trench boxes.
How much digging is involved in your particular method of fixing that wall? You take out the rocks that are there. How far back do you dig other than that?
Maybe 7 feet.
So you're going to take half the hill away in order to put these blocks in, yes?
Well, not 7 feet of digging. Some of that 7 feet is the existing wall. So it would be, well, we don't know how wide the base is. There's a lot of unknowns with this project. I know I need a 7-foot footprint for the base block for this wall. So we could be 4 feet into the bank, we could be 3 feet into the bank.
So can I ask you, Kevin, with this, your 7 feet is your base first one, and then you say they get smaller as they go up. How if we're looking at this, is the base one going to be out in here, or does it start here and then taper that way?
It's going to be set up so that the top block
is where it is now.
Is at the garden, exactly.
Right. So, just another question for you guys.
Just 6 inch offset.
Would be, will you be placing blocks on the water company's property? Would you need a permanent easement? It's a question to ask. I think
The base block will be set right at
on the property line. Okay. I mean, because I know we give you a permanent easement, but I think if you needed one, we definitely want to have it.
To alleviate any further or issues with a joint boundary, my plan was to set it right on the boundary.
Okay.
Just to keep a separation. So there's 3 blocks high, 6 inch offset per block. So 18 inches, which will be right in line with the garden that's there now.
And where that wall jogs, is that your intention is to jog it the way it is and not run it straight? Yeah. Yeah.
We're just going to address the town portion of the wall.
Okay.
The 45 feet that is jogged onto the water department property.
Okay.
We're prepared to do it if we want to do it together, but at this point,
Where is that, Kevin?
So what do you do about drainage at that point then?
So tell me more about what he's talking about, the jogging part
between
of
the
the town.
telephone pole and their driveway is 45 feet.
Yeah.
And the wall is 4 or 5 feet in on their property. So when I presented this plan last year, I presented that it all get done at once.
Yeah.
I even separated out the cost of materials
Yeah.
for the water department so that we could do it all at once.
Yeah.
I still have all those figures, and we can still proceed then. But right now, my focus is on the town portion of the wall, because that's what's failing and falling into the building. That takes priority. The 45 feet that's on their property can be addressed at a later time, but the priority right now is the taller portion that is a shared boundary that's falling.
Which goes by the building.
Yes.
Mr. Stanley.
So the So there's gas and sewer in there?
There's a sewer main, I'm not aware of any gas.
There's a gas service that runs to the barn on the backside, right through that wall. It's actually, they must have bored underneath it to get to it. And then there's one on the driveway entrance that goes to the office.
So I know if they've expressed any concerns or engineering needs or anything for it, they, it's just
Not with me, no.
dig safe and.
I haven't had anything to say.
I don't know if they provide engineers or anything, or requesting it. Any sureties or bonds from them?
No, I haven't heard
from
the
us
gas
to them.
company. The sewer department was in there last year.
Right.
They did their
They,
project there
yeah,
last year.
they slip lined.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How far from where it's collapsing is the pipe into the road? I'm just curious.
About 3 feet.
So it's pretty close to where.
Yeah, it's about 3 feet on the other side of the guardrails, or so 3 to 4 feet, somewhere in there.
And how deep is it?
It's usually 5.5, 6 feet.
So you have somebody that could be there, like an engineer, to make sure that the proper backfill material is used and,
It would probably be me, but
Yeah,
most
to
likely.
make sure.
But
the whatever.
my
you want
engineer
for-
did give me, just so I was just going to run it by you guys. My engineer did give me a cost to engineer the wall. If you were interested in that, it was $30,000.
But I mean, as for like the material and how they want it packed and everything like
Right,
that.
yeah.
You could supply somebody with that.
Yeah. I mean, I can give it all that, but
That's something you can do without the engineer.
Yeah. Cost nobody anything.
Right.
So, could I mention one thing, please?
Absolutely.
Back in my drilling days, I used to operate a water well. We used to stabilize casing with a bentonite mixture. It was called grouting pipe.
Mhm.
It's not rigid like concrete. It stays flexible with the proper bentonite mix. There is a possibility of stabilizing this water main with this material that is not rigid like concrete, but it'll actually give some support to the pipe. This can be done prior to the project. Obviously, it would be trenching involved, exposing your pipe, encasing it in this bentonite mix, letting it set up. That will give us some working space to go ahead and rebuild this wall without even interfering with the integrity of the pipe.
I would have to run that through our engineer, but
Oh, no, that's why I'm mentioning it.
I mean, we use it, that bentonite product, for directional drilling.
Horizontal drill.
Right, but that's usually an HDPE pipe. And it's more just to keep the walls open so that they can pull the pipe through afterwards. But
It also creates stability the other way as well. Whenever we were drilling within the boundary setbacks for a septic system, the steel casing was encased in this bentonite mix so that it seals and stabilizes the pipe, so it keeps out any outside contaminants. I'm confident that this material will support your pipe long enough for us to do this project. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I would like you to run it by your engineer.
Yep.
And say, what does this guy talk about?
well, yeah, I mean, because you're almost at that point, though. I mean, you're going to spend the time and the money to dig up that whole water main, and I mean, what's the length there?
It's 90 feet. It's
90 feet.
It's 45 feet on your property and 90 feet on our property.
Okay.
It might be beneficial for us to do this in stages. This being the first stage, expose your pipe, check its integrity,
Hmm.
make sure it's stable, and then proceed with the retaining.
Interesting idea.
Mr. Pearson.
So I have some suggestion on maybe change of language. So in number 6, in the second sentence, to remove water infrastructure and water mains, and add in front of pre-project the word reasonable, the third line, and then in number 7, in the third line, where it says water district for all costs and expenses, to change that to read for reasonable costs and expenses, and then strike paragraph 8 and 9. That'd be my recommendation to the board.
Tim, what was that? You said strike water infrastructure.
In number 6 on the second line,
Yeah, I got that, but then you said something else.
and to add the word reasonable in front of pre-project on the third line of the same paragraph. And then in paragraph 7, on the third line where it says reimburse the water district for all costs and expenses, replace the word all with reasonable, and then striking 8 and 9 in entirety. And that would be, I mean, I presume the indemnification and hold harmless would be mutual. I mean, our attorney looked at this. We should.
Oh, our attorney has not looked at it because the board hasn't given that direction yet.
But in terms of the damage, perhaps that's.
Don't we currently have insurance that if Public Works breaks something in the course of their duties, our insurance company covers that damage? So we already have insurance.
We have insurance through the same company,
Yeah.
Primex.
Then why do we need more insurance?
I don't know because it's really not the conversation I got back from Primex. So what you heard is something different than what I heard. So
We already have insurance. For Primex, you guys know that.
We're not asking, this is not asking for more insurance. This is just a hold harmless indemnification agreement in terms of how things will get repaired and who pays for the repair if it's damaged. That's, I mean, we obviously we must have had conversations with different people at Primex, but this is what was suggested to us by Primex.
Mr. Scanlon.
So I'm just curious if Primex is trying to leave any responsibility for paying any claims on it, and that's saying that the town would be solely responsible for it, because they know that they're insured and we're insured, so the idea is, no matter what, they won't pay a claim, so if we just say, well, no matter what happens, the town will pay without filing a claim. I don't know if that's,
Yeah, I understand
I
the
don't
question.
understand
I don't know. I'm not in the heads of the Primex folks, so I don't know. I didn't speak with them. John had the conversation, so.
Yeah, I mean, because I thought that having you guys name us as additionally insured was all we needed to do. And they told me absolutely not. That was the first, I thought you always have to be additionally insured on projects all the time. And I thought that covered you, and they said, no, absolutely not.
I'm in favor of the changes that Tim is suggesting, and I'm also in favor of you working side by side with Kevin, making sure that your primary property is secured and safe. And that's, I think, what we all
I mean,
care
during the
about.
project, we will shut that main off.
Yeah.
Because we certainly don't want to take that, opportunity for it to break or get broken during that project and flood the whole entire setup. So we would shut that off, run a temporary along the railroad tracks like we did last year, and put everybody on that. So that main would be non-pressurized and not an issue during the project anyways.
Ultimately, when we get down to brass tacks, both sides need to get it done.
Absolutely.
Right. That's,
I mean, what started this whole thing was our portion of the wall got washed out
right.
and big boulders came down and because of the way the road is
Yeah.
pitched and such. That's kind of what got everything started here. But,
And now more is.
and now,
And when you did the pictures with the heat, there's a lot of empty spaces in there.
there's a lot of critters that run in and out of that wall.
Yep.
So they've got a lot of tunnels in there.
It needs to get fixed soon. So we need to make decisions. We need to come to an agreement.
Won't get fixed this year.
Yeah, I know, but we need to come up with an agreement soon because the first of the spring, when we can fix it, it needs to be fixed. And
What
if it
are
can't
you
be
going to do
fixed
for the
this
winter?
year,
You're
we gotta close it. We can't have people traveling on that and plowing.
I'm in favor of shutting it down at that spot.
Yeah.
Travel in and out from one end, in and out from the other end, just shutting it down in the middle.
Yeah, 'cause I was wondering how that would get plowed all winter. 'Cause you'd be crowded in there really fast.
And obviously we'll monitor and keep an eye on that area to make sure it doesn't get any worse. Obviously, if it does, we'll have to make a decision then. I think it's holding stable now. Slow the water down as much as we can with that fabric. Wash it any more out.
Have you looked behind the fabric lately? No.
It was
Might want to take
12
a
or
peek.
13 inches of asphalt in there.
Yeah,
That was, that was interesting.
you might want to take a peek just because I did.
Yeah.
And there's more material that's moved and tightened up into your fabric, so.
Yeah, I had thought about bringing in some 5 to 7 erosion stone, filling the hole, trying to put some weight back there to keep it from falling even
Yeah.
further. Then we'd also thought of getting some chain link fence and going from telephone pole to telephone pole to try to catch anything that might fall out of the hole and keep it from hitting the building. That'll add some stability as well, just for the time being. I know it's just a Band-Aid, but at least it's something to help hold it back for now.
I don't know how the telephone company would feel. But...
No, the
Oh,
poles
okay.
that are holding
All
the
right, all right.
guardrail.
I was like, I don't know how the telephone company would like it strapping it at a pole. But, yeah.
No, they would not like that.
No.
No.
What, does that sound like?
I'm sorry, that would be a project that I would have next year, and that would be the only project I have scheduled for next year. And then any paving that I have will be done the following year for other roads. Obviously, that project takes priority.
Now, you just brought up another question I'm gonna have, is paving. I just got a dig safe in that R&D is gonna grind and pave a bunch of roads that I didn't know anything about. And we have a lot of bad mains up there that I think it's kind of foolish to waste grinding and paving that stuff right now if we're not gonna get a chance to replace it. I mean, that's just me, because when you start grinding, you're gonna have water leaks.
Can I understand the impetus of that? Let's see if we can wrap up
Okay.
with what we've got here. That becomes another conversation another time in terms of what's coming up. For the board, what do we, I mean, I know Selectman Constantino was said she liked the proposal from Mr. Pearson in terms of the wording, changing those wording, the words in 6 and 7 are reasonable.
What is reasonable?
So the changes that Tim recommended was on item 6, number 6, to take out on the second line the word water infrastructure and water mains. On the third line to insert reasonable pre-project conditions, so the word reasonable. On 7, item 7, the third line, strike the word all and insert the word reasonable, so it means reasonable costs and expenses, and strike 8 and 9. That was his proposal.
Yeah, my personal opinion is we're not going to agree to striking full scale based upon the recommendation here of 8 and 9. Striking water infrastructure, I'm not even sure really what that would mean. So from my point of view, I don't have a problem striking water infrastructure. I do have a problem striking water mains. I don't have a problem with putting in the reasonable term, which I think was going into paragraph 7.
It was
The
6
6
before the
6 and 7
before pre-project, and then
the pre-project.
and then third line of 7, strike all, replace with a reasonable. The water district for all costs and expenses, water district for reasonable costs and expenses. And 7.
You have any comment about that, John?
I don't know what the difference between, what is reasonable? Is it,
Yeah, who defines
Yeah.
reasonable? But
that's the only question I would have for it.
Well, all is definable.
yeah, that's why it's in there.
Right.
Reasonable is negotiable.
Reasonable, we wouldn't want in there because you can't define it.
Well, it's kind of an agreement as to what's reasonable, but it's all the kitchen sink. It don't have a fund balance to cover kitchen sink.
Well, obviously, I mean, one would assume if it was an accidental thing that the insurance company is just going to go to work on it and not the town, but.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's actually a good point. Let the insurance company figure out what's reasonable, I suppose. So I guess I could probably live with taking out all costs and expenses and just putting reasonable in. And then as far as paragraphs 8 and 9, no to striking all of those, except for changing 3 years to 1 year.
Aren't 8 and 9 redundant though? Couldn't 9 cover 8?
Saying lawyers would be redundant?
Sure.
Shocker.
By the word.
They have to use 3 words to say 1.
So, because if you think about it, that 9 basically covers what 8 is asking for. And, if we were able to go into 1 year on that.
Well, 9 refers to the surety bond, correct? So,
And all damage that may be caused to the project to the water district's property. The main would be then covered under water district's property because it is your property.
8. 8,
9.
9.
It says water
Nine's
district's
already
property. So
covered
water
by
district
6 and
property
7.
not
Yeah.
only just covers the physical property that we would be on, but it also covers the fact that that water main belongs to you. that's your property.
Mm-hmm.
So,
9 is
But-
already covered by 7.
But like it's,
Read
it-
7.
it's
already
it's
covered.
basically redundancy. It's covering itself. It's-
Right.
And up above that paragraph, I just saw there was a 3-year too. We're gonna take that into a 1 year.
listening to, I mean.
That was what
with
was
our
suggested.
with our
Yeah,
department
but
heads,
it's here and
yes,
here.
1 year would be.
Right, I'm
Yeah.
just, in both them paragraphs, it was 3 years, so I just want to refer that we said 1 year.
But I just see 8 and 9 being redundant because with the Codicil Water District's property in 9, that covers damages from above, main, all of that stuff, et cetera.
But what about the bond? Are we still wanting
Yeah,
a bond?
Asking
It
for
says
1
in
year.
8 we're going to pay for it, so why would we need a bond?
I'm just saying that I thought it was Primex that was saying, who was,
Your attorney, wasn't it?
Yeah, the attorney
oh,
suggested. the
Marcia
bond.
suggested that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that Marcia, that she put that in there because the insurance company was asking for that, but no, it's, okay.
But if-
Okay.
but if-
No,
so
she
if-
was just asking what would a reasonable number would be.
so if
For a
we were-
bond.
Yeah, so if we were to strike 8, but keep the surety bond at 50,000 in 9, and then go to 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
no,
strike 9 altogether and keep 8 and move it to 1 year. You're going to pay for it anyway.
No, I
Why
see
would
what
you
you're
need a
saying.
bond?
I see
Well,
what
the
you're saying.
bond is an additional insurance. I mean, it should be some kind of, I mean, how much is it, Tim,
We
for a
have
1 year?
additional
It's
insurance
less than
already.
$500.
It should be 1 to max 2%. Probably be about 1%. It's about 500.
It's about $500, and it's just, it's an additional insurance policy. If something goes wrong, you guys have additional insurance.
So if we spend $500, there's $50,000 we don't have to come up with in the event.
That's exactly.
that's exactly what it takes care of.
I mean, it's cheap insurance.
If it's $100,000 in damage, the bond would pay for $50,000.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't want the bond, but
$100,000 damage, we have $1,000 deductible, and our insurance company would likely cover the damage.
But you only said likely. You didn't say they will cover the damage.
It's the way it works with rest of our property lines.
Right, it depends on the situation.
I have nothing but faith in Kevin's ability to pull this off with no damage whatsoever. I think we're
What if we
pretty much
leave it at
wasting our time.
$50,000 bond?
I know you guys want assurances too. Hence this agreement. That's my assurance. As long as I've known him, he's never let us down. He says he can do this, I believe him.
If you keep paragraph 8, can you strike the last 2 sentences?
say that one more time, Tim,
Like,
sorry.
if you change 3 to 1 year, then in the last, strike the last sentence.
So in paragraph 8, strike the last sentence, change 3 years to 1 year. Correct, Tim?
Yeah.
And strike such damage may include, but not limited
to damage resulting from the failure to properly backfill. What? Water.
Okay,
To help smooth it along. Just think.
you got that?
Trying to make it, we can all agree on.
No, let's hold off on that for a sec.
Yeah,
So we can do a
We
pending.
still need to have that done. Yeah.
What,
I
okay,
agree with you.
I'm sorry.
Ultimately, I mean,
Our attorney still needs to look at this once we,
Oh, we understand that.
yeah, that's what Jeannie was trying to.
Oh, okay. Understood.
Okay, so,
So-
we have 6 and 7, we've changed the wording. We've added a couple, we took out water infrastructure, water mains, and added reasonable. And then in 7, we added reasonable. And then 8, we put it from 3-year to 1 year, we took out the last sentence,
You want to strike this?
and we're leaving in 9.
What about
No, I thought we
No,
were striking 9.
Striking
Striking
9.
9.
What
Okay.
about taking out that
Like
last
that.
sentence in 8?
Okay,
Properly backfill water may not have influence.
So will our attorney see the changes that we made?
Yeah, we will go to.
Say that again.
They're asking to strike that.
Yes, to take it out, that last sentence. right there.
what's your thoughts here?
All right. Okay, to paragraph 8, striking the last sentence in paragraph 8 and changing 3 to 1.
Okay. So the only thing we disagree on is striking 9.
But that goes on to us.
Right.
Why
So
would
if we
you
strike
care?
9, it's not gonna.
Yeah, no,
It goes on to us.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay,
Are you guys okay with that? Striking 9? I'm just-
Alright.
We're trying to work
we'll run
something
it
out.
by our.
Yeah,
yeah.
Our attorneys. So
Okay.
We're good on this?
I think so.
Okay,
We'll see what your attorney has to say, and you guys can come back to us with that recommendation or advice. And then,
sounds good.
great.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, back to what John was saying.
So,
Oh,
the,
about the paving
yeah,
projects?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I just, I've seen where grinding or rollers that are vibratory on these old mains cause water breaks. And to spend the money to do it and then have a water break either during the project or right afterwards. And then we're gonna have to go up and dig up your brand new roads. Not something I want to do.
Not something I want them either.
I know. I know that, you know, the taxpayers would be looking at us going, why are you digging up this brand new road? You know, we're not gonna have a choice if it does happen, but, you know, I guess.
So
My-
if you
my
guys
question
get
would be-
together and come up with a schedule so that we can fix our roads and he can fix his pipes.
Right. I know I can't get a contractor in here in materials and get it done this year. You know, so it's the upper half of Chestnut, Prospect, includes Daniel. It's all black iron pipe. It's, you know, it's way past its prime, obviously. And then the
Pillsbury
High
Lane.
Street extension. It's
It's
the
all
same.
High Street, isn't it?
What about Pillsbury Lane?
Pillsbury's fine.
It's all High Street, isn't it?
High Street, no, we've replaced all of High Street. It's
Oh,
from
just
High
the-
Street
yeah.
up.
Could you, and I'm not, because I live at 82 School Street when you guys.
Right,
found all
and
the
we just
different-
did
Yeah,
that
all
one,
the different names there. Could you find surprises under those streets as well?
Find surprises.
Yeah, because I know that when you went on School Street, there were mains that you. had
Well,
no
yeah, there was
idea
3
that were
mains
there.
on School Street running.
Yeah,
And that was
So,
one
yeah,
of the
just-
reasons we wanted to get that
Yeah,
one done.
just wondering if, you know,
Uh,
if it might be. the
There's no
same
surprises that
situation.
I'm aware of. I know there's one main that I'm aware of.
Okay.
It's 6-inch, that turns to 2-inch.
I was just thinking.
6-inch
for your-
cast.
For your sake and for, you know,
Yeah.
just in case there's.
Other than the fact that it's all granite
Yeah.
underneath the roads.
Not in front of my house.
Yeah, I don't know if it's real ledgy up that way. I know, you know, over your house definitely, but
My,
we pounded that one out.
My wife thinks.
But I don't believe that those roads are ledgy over that way that I'm aware of. Because we replaced bottom of Chestnut, bottom of Prospect, High Street, and I don't recall running into ledge issue really during them projects.
Can I say something?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So last year, in August, when we were dealing with the Academy Street project, I had spoken to John, and let him know that if Academy Street didn't happen last year, that it would have to be put off until 2023 because of all the paving project that I had scheduled for 2022. I thought I'd given him enough notice that that's where I was planning my paving project. I listed off Chestnut, Prospect, Daniel, West, Pillsbury, and High Street Extension. I thought that that was enough notice. This is where I'm paving next year. This is the project I have going on. If Academy Street doesn't happen this year, it's got to wait until 2023 because of that paving project. I can't let it disrupt my 10-year road plan. That's when those roads are scheduled to be paved. So,
Mr. Jessup?
If you say, go ahead and pave them, he's gonna have to sometime, he's gonna have to cut up the road.
so going forward, obviously, if we need to make an adjustment this year so that we don't spend money twice paving, then I'm willing to do that. And I want to do that because I don't want to pave a road and have it dug up again. We went through that with Cedar Street with
Yep.
the sewer hiccup. Drove me nuts. I don't like that. So I'm actually thankful that he's coming forward and telling me about this because now we can deal with it. Should we adjust our paving projects, or maybe we do some this year and some next year? Absolutely, and I know R&D would work with me on it. So if we got together now, going forward, and he told me what roads need to be worked on, then I can adjust my paving for this year. The money not spent this year can be saved for next year to button up the paving, or when he has completed his upgrades that he needs to do.
Sounds like a plan.
Do you guys talk officially? I mean, ever? And we were
Once a
casually
woman,
talking.
I don't, honestly, Kevin, I don't recall you telling me you were doing those roads. If I
Well,
did, I would have
If-
tried to make
Here
sure
we
that
are.
we did something, but we,
And there we are, and I recognize that maybe we should do more emailing
all right.
instead of conversations, because I'm getting older, I forget what I did yesterday. And, just life gets so busy, and, things get lost, I understand that. But
Yeah, because I was.
going forward, in order to fix it and make it right, yes, let's adjust and get everybody on board.
Morrison Ave's another one that needs some serious attention.
So I'll ask, and ask if the board's comfortable. You've got a phenomenal road plan. I mean, you have it for us. So would it be worthwhile sharing it with John? So
I
that
was
he's
just gonna ask
I
the
was
same
under the
thing.
impression that he already had access to it.
Okay, so let's just circle back, give him
Yeah,
access
no,
to it, and then.
I would
we'll
love to
go
see
forward
that,
there.
yeah.
So, because that'll allow him to plan out, and it allows, I mean, you've already planned out, so that makes it.
Is that on your website,
Copacetic.
Kevin, or?
It's shared through our Google Drive.
Oh.
So the selectmen and other departments have access to it.
It should be, I think that it was back when we tried to do the ordinance. The highway, we have an ordinance that says after the road has been complete, there's a certain amount of time you can't dig up the road, any utility can't dig the road up. And that was what was happening. But at that point, we tried to.
Well, Northfield has a similar one.
So at that point, we tried to maintain a policy that highway would work with sewer and gas and water to give them a heads up, and try to communicate, hey, these are the roads we're gonna be doing, so that it can be done at the same time.
Right. I mean,
Benefits everybody.
it's very expensive to replace those mains, very expensive. And I mean,
Yep.
There's hundreds of thousands of dollars per road, depending on how many feet it is. I mean, so it's the more time we have, the better off. We can try to plan for it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the process right now, at the end stage of a $6.5 million design for a new treatment plant, so money's getting real tight.
Well, here we are, and like any relationship, communication becomes the key. So,
Exactly.
I would like to add one more thing.
absolutely.
For that area, I know, if you remember Cedar Street, I I reclaimed the entire area, and I left it open for the utilities to come and do their work, which was great. They worked well for that project. Prospect Street, Chestnut Street, those streets have such a grade to them. I cannot afford to leave them exposed. That's why this project has been set up, that paving is done right after the reclaim. So that if we have any bad weather, rainstorms, then all of Prospect Street isn't on Main Street from washouts. It'd be really hard to maintain those gravel areas in heavy rainstorms. So that's why I planned it, so that the paving was done right after the reclaim. You know, it wasn't left exposed for the utilities to come in and do their work. If I had done it that way, then obviously you would have been aware of what's going on and had some time to do that. But I was under the impression that the water mains in that area were in good shape,
They're up to High Street they are. It's just the uppers.
upper side.
Yeah. So basically, they're just to hush you around from High Street to High Street.
Sure.
All right, sounds like a plan. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Kevin,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks.
I don't know, I wasn't there. Next on the agenda, Mr. Pearson. This thing is unreal.
Yeah. Nice try. That's gotta be quite a project.
They were all getting up from the table.
What's that?
They were all getting up from the table.
Yeah, I know. What'd I do?
I'll just get water.
I'm gonna take this personally.
I just need a refill.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Isn't that nice?
We're supposed to have a table for that very purpose.
Maybe you're looking at it.
Table's been coming for 15 months. And I know, I've been in that scene.
Doesn't he
I've
do
watched.
other things too? I'm just
think so.
asking, I'm just
I
wondering.
don't know.
And now we've got to set.
Oh,
out-
that. Oh, yes.
I
Yeah.
never
Now we
complained about
we
it.
now
have
we
a-
gotta set out more
we have a
signs.
plan. We're looking at January.
January?
Is what we're looking at. Yeah. For everything to be done.
I'm gonna-
So we have all the equipment now.
Oh, excellent.
All the equipment is, I don't know where we're gonna put the rest of it that's coming next week, but
The what?
the equipment for upstairs, I can barely walk into the IT room. It's so chock-a-block full of stuff for up here.
I can't.
And it's the only locked area I've got, so,
I can't believe the difference in those LED lights.
yeah.
They just replaced the ones in front of my house. It must have been yesterday.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Plus it'll save us money.
Yeah.
That's a win-win-win.
That lighting.
My front yard was
That
all lit
lighting
up last
change
night.
is unbelievable. Those LED lights.
I haven't.
The one from my house has been dark for months.
Is that right? Yeah.
You're on Prospect.
I'm in school.
Cool.
It's very late.
That was nice though.
So, just a couple of things before I get into the budget. I just wanted to make sure that you saw in your to be signed folder that there's a request for a TAN withdrawal, which is going to be incredibly important in the next week.
I think it's in the process of being signed.
Okay, thank you. There's also the merit budget transfers are in there. And then, as you heard earlier, Selectman Para discussing the special meeting for the fire district. We won't be able to be in a position to set a tax rate until after that meeting is held. So our next Selectmen's meeting is November 3rd. So I'm hoping that whatever comes out of that special meeting in the fire district, once DRA has the results of that, then hopefully we'll be able to set a tax rate on the 3rd. We'll be ready. It's just whether everything else is in place to be able to do that. So having said that, in your binders is the draft operating budget containing the department requests. And And I would just turn your attention to the first page after the cover, the major points. So these are the big ticket items. So the increases that we have are um, regarding long-term debt. This is the final year of our scale up into the debt for the police building. So from this point forward, from 23 forward, we are paying for the full interest and principal of the building. That was an increase of $57,000. I will note that the interest rate has gone up to about 3.5% for a municipal bond for our type of project. We're at 1.95%. So the timing worked well for the town. In administration, Jeannie, when she reviews the town hall or the administration budget, in town hall maintenance, there's an additional $50,000 or $46,000 additional, bringing it up to $50,000 for town hall maintenance and repairs. And that's specific to a list that she'll be reviewing with the board to determine which items are going to be covered this year and what needs to be done. So that number may change or will likely change, but for right now, there is 50,000 in that line, which is unusual for the administration budget. In finance, after having talked about the interest rates, right now we have a 1% rate on our tax anticipation note. I've already been told to expect it to triple. And because of the way we operate the TAN, we're looking at probably spending about $6,000 this year because we've had a significant amount of grant money come in this year in various ways that even though we can't use it to supplant or pay for operating expenses, it does help our cash balance in the bank. So we haven't had to borrow quite as much as we normally would at this time. So therefore, by the end of the year, I'm looking at about a $6,000 to $7,000 expense in interest, and I'm expecting that to roughly triple. So I budgeted $18,000 for interest. In information technology, there are increases there as well, and it's primarily related to further things that we have to do in cybersecurity. There isn't a day that that goes by that we're not having to address either additional costs regarding cybersecurity, updated or new hardware for it, or procedures and additional protections. So this is going to continue on, and I can go into that in a little more detail when I cover the IT budget with you. But and then in utilities, we're looking at a roughly the increase that we had from our old contract to the contract that we signed that goes through 26 is a 17% increase in the supply rate, but that's fixed for that entire time. The problem that everyone is going to be seeing this next year is in the supply rates from Eversource. So it's the transmission and delivery rates from Eversource. We have a number of different types of meters. I have been through with Eversource on the phone trying to determine, based on the meter, what we're looking at in terms of an increase. And it is really an impossible task because of the way they do their pricing. Some of it is based on the amount of electricity. Some of it is based on amount and dollar figure of the how much that equates to. And some of it depends on other factors that it is, I spent hours trying to work out a good way of handling this, and I finally ended up taking the portion that is an approximate for our delivery and transmission, increasing that by 60%, with one exception. But for every electricity account, except for the police department, which we were still waiting for a full year of experience, and we were high in 22. So there's less of an increase for 23. And then also what it did with our street lighting bill, we had anticipated having more of a savings in street lighting, but because of the anticipated delivery and transmission costs, that decrease, I should say, that savings is going to be less. And I'll go through that with you. The last item there, the increases. So for medical insurance, I think you may have seen Jeannie's email. Medical was up 11.7%, dental up 1.5%, and disability up 3.2%. The decreases in this budget come from the elimination of the curbside recycling. That's $142,000. And also from the approved budget, you'll see that we had encumbrances built into the budget figures. So because we don't have those encumbrances, there's reductions there in both the police budget as well as in the public works budget. There are also reductions in Group 1 and Group 2 to retirement. And then the reduction in street lighting from the savings of the LED project. There are a number of open items, and as you go through the budget, you're going to see a column that says need info, and it has a black square. Anywhere you find a black square, that means we're waiting on something. So there are some missing outside agencies. There's also our risk pool insurances, workers' comp, unemployment, and property liability. We're going to get that on the 17th. We won't know an interest rate until January, so some of these things can be adjusted at that time. Also in weapons, the academy requires more ammo now and for certification for officers. So we have to up the amount of ammo that we do for certification. And also the police department is working on a project right now to increase the accuracy of shooting by replacing the uppers of the 6RP 320s with red dot uppers. And in doing so, we can trade in the ones that we have. We purchase the ones with the red dots, but then we have to replace the holsters because the ones with the red dots won't fit in the holster. So I just got, as I was coming up, I just got the quote, which Sergeant Penault's been working on. And so there is some money in here for all the weapons and ammo. That number is likely to change. So in any case, as we look at the front page, I just want to point out in terms of comparisons, if you're looking at our budget without the encumbrances from 22, we're up about 1.5%, $82,189. So that's kind of your apples to apples view. And as we go through the different departments, I have, where possible, added comments or information to help understand what's gone into that particular budget line, and in particular where it pertains to personnel, whether the personnel is if they're part-time, it will show part-time, and what the basis of their wages are, whether it's. And all the open positions are fully budgeted within this as if they're working January 1st. So in any event, to give you an example, if you were to just turn to page, where's the PD? Page 11, which is where the police department is located. You'll see underneath the police department heading, it shows that the budget includes the staff of 20 employees. 16 positions are currently filled, 4 are open. But those 4 open positions are budgeted for the entire year. The command staff, it shows the number and then how that staff breaks down, and then shows the of those 20, how many are detectives, patrol, SRO, communications, and admin. So where possible, I've tried to show, because this has always been a source of confusion, well, how many are in patrol? How many do we have? And is that the 8th or is that the 9th? And so hopefully that will help. The merits are budgeted at 3%. And in fact, the only exceptions to that would be the town clerk and then people that are under contract. the chief and the attorney prosecutor. So they do not, what's that? So the town clerk, in her budget, she put in for the same percentage increase as what the merit was, 3%. The reason why on page,
You said that was an exception.
well, in other words, it's not budgeted in the merit line.
Oh, I got it.
So there are 3 that aren't budgeted in the merit line, the 2 people that are on contracts, and then the town clerk, the elected town clerk, tax collector.
But they're all at 3%.
They're all at 3%, that's
Mr.
correct.
Jessup.
We have 2 sides that are contract, do we not?
No. So, no. That's expiring as of next week. He'll be gone. So no, and the other was not on a contract. So the merit line in the PD has a lieutenant position, which is open, 2 sergeant positions, and then the administrative assistant. So there are 4 positions that are that make up that merit line in the PD. So what I would suggest is, given I have less time, what time did you give me till, Gina? Because she told me I had 20 minutes. Okay, so I've got more than that.
Lost 20 minutes.
I lost 20 minutes. Okay.
18.
Okay. All right. So in any event, if we start with the administration budget, there were a few things that were added in here. First of all, the administrative compensated absences was increased slightly. There's a 3rd person that now qualifies for PTO purchases in 2023. In the administrative dues, we added the Lakes Region Chamber of Commerce. In the, where is it here? In the administrative equipment rental and maintenance, we included a security shredder such that they have at the PD. With all the documentation that is in the basement, containing, intermixed with a lot of social security numbers, tax IDs, so on and so forth. There's a lot to go through and a lot to get rid of, and these are lockable things. They come and they shred them, and that's the maximum amount you pay when they pick it up. So in any event, outside of that, we are waiting on some items here. The general legal expense was reduced some, and in terms of the elections for 2023, we just have the 1 town election. So there's a number of lines that you'll see that are reduced because of the election, just having 1 election this next year.
Under administrative equipment and maintenance.
Yep, the boiler, elevator lift, fire extinguishers.
Is that the only thing that's under there?
Pretty much. It's mostly the certifications that are paid out of there.
Okay. So equipment maintenance and repairs for the building, where?
Those are under, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
Those are under town hall maintenance and repairs, which is on page 4, about the 6th, 7th item down. So the note there is based upon improvements from the town hall assessment, including chimney flue repairs and roof repairs.
That roof repair is a big one, huh?
Depending upon what.
We got another quote that was significantly less.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for 1 more quote.
And in fact, in senior center maintenance, one of the items that increased in there within that line was the utilities, because the electricity is going to be significantly more.
Is that why the senior center maintenance went up?
Yes,
Utilities?
and the monitoring costs, because we
The
did a-
Rango?
right, we did away with the telephone line. It's all
Right.
radio now, so radio communicated. So there's an additional cost for that monitoring on an annual basis, over and above what the old one was, which was problematic. So, and that was known at the time that we implemented that, right?
I think, Tim, with the insulation and the amount of insulation they put in there, since it's a forced hot air system, the fan should stop, and that's a major, that motor's a major user of power 24/7.
That would be
So
great.
it could
Yeah, that would be nice to see.
help out.
Yeah.
We won't know.
Yeah, I think
When it kicks on, but the
we're-
electricity will drop.
yeah, where we use a lot is the air conditioning in the summertime, so I would think it'd be the same kind of thing. So maybe we will see better numbers out of that, but we're already over budget for this year, and I think that's a reasonable figure for next year. I hope it's not low.
He said that you should see, the insulation person said you should see a significant difference even in air conditioning.
Oh, I
because
would
of
think
the
so.
RO.
Right?
yeah.
Sure.
That's
Oh, yeah,
fantastic.
both.
Oh,
Both heating and air conditioning. I would
And
think.
the electricity,
Right.
because it all
Yep.
Right, which is
circulates with
down,
large motors.
because it's not gonna kick on when you have it on auto.
We are awaiting a new contract for janitorial. So that, we don't
Same
know what,
people?
well, they've informed us that there's a price increase coming. So we'll just have to see how, if that's a modest increase or if it's a significant increase. There are some ideas in terms of this building. I felt or during the summertime, we don't have the same type of use, and yet we clean at the same, the same schedule as during the winter. The winter gets the most use and dirt coming in. So if anything, we could look at a reschedule for the summertime months. Because right now it's cleaned on Wednesday and Friday all year round. So it would make sense just to do Wednesday during, say, those 6 months or 5 months.
You know what a total cost for all of our buildings janitorial is?
Not off the top of my head, but it's in the $24,000-$25,000 range.
Total?
Mhm.
19. So
About that, yep.
Yeah.
And then also Parks Commission pays for Riverfront Park, which they do. The company does the senior center for free,
Yeah.
but I mean, and I know they
Not big.
put it that way, but clearly they have costs associated with that. So they're working it in to the other buildings, but that's a nice benefit that we don't have to pay for that. Write a check for that. But in any event, so we're anticipating that we're going to have that this next week. As I mentioned, also the insurances, those last three insurance lines right before the end of the administrative budget, workers' comp, property liability, unemployment, those are all Primex, and we'll have those on the 17th of this month. Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, I'm awaiting a number there. That should not be a significant increase. That should be leveled off. And then as we go through the other budgets, there's not a lot different in the town clerk tax collector budget. The 3% wage for the town clerk, that $2,407 is that 3% portion. So it is in the department request, which is what she's requested. And there's always that discussion during the year, how that works. But the reason it's 3.7% is it includes taxes and New Hampshire retirement and other costs. Let's see here. In finance, I think I mentioned already the interest, but I did want to point out in terms of the salary line there, and also in your budget transfer document that you're looking at tonight in your to be signed folder, the finance and IT increase was a 4.3% increase, but it was apportioned to this line here and not split between the two. So other than that, there's not much there. The long-term debt, the increase there is due primarily to the the effect of the principal in the third year for, or our scaling in, I should say, of the long-term debt for the PD. And it was purposeful that we did this at the same time that we were seeing a reduction in the interest. And the interest reduction is due to some fluctuations in the sewer debt. So by doing it this way last year, we saw that there was a similar kind of benefit this year as well. That will level off though, and in fact we'll see an increase in interest in it. It's either 24 or 25, a slight increase. But in any case, it helps shoulder the cost of that debt, that additional debt. In information technology, as I mentioned, the cybersecurity focus. There is one item here, though, which is adding maintenance for IMC Mobile. Now, this would be providing the board approves the purchase this year of the package from the company. So what this is the in-car ability to open calls, add narratives, do all their work from the cruiser in the way that they're now connected with this to Belknap County, but Belknap County doesn't feed into our system. So this would be directly feeding into us and not into Belknap County. And it's a one-time purchase of roughly $11,000, and then there'd be about another $1,000 in services. So we're looking at maybe $12 or a little over $12,000 to implement this now, but it includes $1,350 of maintenance for the first year, and that goes up to about $1,420 in the second year and thereafter. So where you see our PD, that first item, $10,442, it would be $11,792.
They have to retrofit the vehicles to do that?
No.
The ones that we have?
No, it's a software change only to the tablets. Yep. And then it does require some additional hardware in the IT side in the server room, but I already have something that we can use for that I can reuse. Really, it's just a matter of services. And then there is training included in that $11,000. So this is something that Chief Gilman is going to be talking to you about, and I did review this with him. He does want to do it. They have a significant surplus right now this year due to the hiring, the lack of hiring during the year. So it is something that we can have a discussion about, but I just wanted to point out that maintenance is in this particular budget.
And the 11,000 upfront, and then it's maintenance after that.
Right. So the 1,350 is for that first year of maintenance.
That wasn't budgeted in 2022?
No, we did not budget IMC Mobile.
Just not IMC, but not mobile.
No, we had done the barcoding for, if you recall, for the evidence.
2019.
We did that in the end of 20, so that we,
moving out.
right, yeah, yep. So we did the barcoding, and that is in that 10,442. So in any event, moving on, in land use, there are very few changes, but you'll see that, and here's an example underneath in the second line, salary land use technician support. It shows part-time hourly based on 16 hours a week. You have two employees that are part-time that are salaried, which are the welfare director, human services director, and also the health officer. And so those would say part-time salary. Our health officer is paid based on a 32-hour week, which was what was determined back when that position was created or increased at town meeting. I think it was 2012. And then the welfare director is 16 hours a week. And those are all noted there. it should be understood that full-time employees are budgeted at 40-hour weeks. Outside of that, Conservation Commission has held their budget for the year, and in economic development, the change here is making sure that we have money for the engineering and planning for the sidewalk, the crosswalk over. Is that correct? The crosswalk, as well as the riverfront to Park Street, and then replacement flags. We have some flags that'll still be good, but we need more money for the replacement flags. In health and welfare, one of the items that changed here was animal control was moved into health and welfare budget, which you approved back, I believe, in September 16th. And we reduced that from $3,000 to $1,500. We have had no animals taken to the shelter. So I know, knock on something. But it's $100 per event. We had budgeted for 30, so we reduced that down to 15. The welfare director, when she speaks to you, even though yes.
I see we spent nothing for animal control, yay, but the 3-year average expense is $5,500.
That's because it was a contract.
And now we're going per.
This is per use, yep. And this is with the Franklin Animal Shelter.
Good enough.
Tim, the next line, the senior executive committee.
Yes.
6 on there now, not 5.
Okay. We can change that. In the general assistance line, the welfare director, when she speaks to you, even though there hasn't been a lot of expense this year, she will tell you that she's been able to access other resources. There's been a lot of programs for people that need shelter and other things. So she's been able to preserve her budget, but she's very concerned about 23. She did not want to reduce that line at all because of some of the assistance programs that are going away and sunsetting in 23. So just wanted to point that out because there's a pretty big disparity between the expense so far this year and the budget. In Public Works, there is one open position in the crew. It is budgeted for the entire year, along with all the other components for it: health, dental, New Hampshire retirement, so on and so forth. And then probably the biggest items here to note is that the salt and sand increase here at the bottom of page 9, there's a pretty significant increase coming in. So he's going up $10,000 in budget. So there's not much he can do about that. You got to pay what, there's only really 2 suppliers you can buy it from. And, it's just increased cost. So there's that. And then also he will have taken care of the training this year for the CDL. So that doesn't need to be repeated. That's also at the bottom of page 9. And then on the top of page 10, bottom of page 9, highway training. So it's a reduction of $4,500 because that will be done by the end of the year. On page 10, where you see storm drains, which is about the 6th line down, he's reduced that from $4,000 to 1 because they've already been done, and he can do this every other year. So this is how he's going to scale it in. So, which I think is very wise. Street lighting, where we were anticipating a higher reduction or savings, I should say. We've modified that. Hopefully, we'll see better savings than that, than $5,700. But it's very difficult to tell until we start seeing some actual bills from this. And also, we will be trained And if you recall, we will have the ability to change the intensity of some of these lights so that I'm sure there's going to be some type of savings where we either turn off or turn down certain lights. In the parks maintenance, we increased that slightly because their expenses have been more this year. That doesn't affect any capital items, but that's just for the general maintenance there. Yes, I'm sorry. Yep.
What about the roof at Riverfront Park?
So that is not in the operating budget. That would have to either be paid for out of other funds we have this year. If we went to contract, we have the capacity to encumber that work into next year, as long as we have a contract signed. So it would just be a matter of going through the process of having.
The building was taken, the maintenance of the building was shifted back to
Us.
us.
So I guess we would need to get,
Are we looking into that?
No, I wasn't aware that that had actually happened.
I thought
We took over the maintenance of the buildings of Riverfront, and the roof needs to be,
I think the problem that arose was that it was discussed, but it wasn't
yeah,
finalized.
right, you're right.
Yeah, and so,
They shingle year round.
I'm sorry, oh, yeah,
Shingle
yeah.
Year round, so you can
Yeah.
use, so if you
And-
have the money.
And it is a complicated roof, it's got those eyebrow, they're pretty, but, it's not your straight flat roof kind of thing.
Is that something that we should look into now with encumbered funds, or should we look into it next year?
Be nice to get done before winter so we don't get ice damage, water and everything.
You think that we could get it done now? It's October.
I don't know. I have a grant that I have to, it's a huge grant that I have to start working on, that I haven't even touched with everything else that's been going on. And then in addition to that, we've got health insurance renewal. So between now and the end of the year, if you're asking me to do that, I don't know where I'm going to find the time, other than to say we're not going to do the grant.
Can we, I can help out. We can get 3 roofers. We have a bunch local. We have a big cruise or whatever it is. Put someone up there and a couple others and get the amount for you.
That's all
Parks
we
used to
need.
do it, so.
We just need a
so you won't
contract
have
to
do
encumber it.
calls and then just get the
I don't know
paperwork
if you can
and do
get
it.
If you can get that done, that'd be great.
And just, so you don't even have to make calls, they'll call you. We'll just get the paperwork, the estimates, and submit them so they can go to the board.
Joe?
No, I'll wait. We're going down to sanitation next, right?
So, just to confirm, John, you're gonna take that responsibility on?
I can do that.
For the roof.
Contacts to some local companies. If anybody has any suggestions, email me and I'll send them. And it's to replace the shingles and.
Right, so as long as we can get a
Redo it,
contract
strip
before the
and
end of the year.
fresh. Yeah.
It's gotta be put on years to.
And then I'll get
Okay.
the estimates over and look at it.
All right, so moving on then. So you'll see in sanitation, the reduction for curbside recycling. And then the reason why I have the block next to residential solid waste is regarding the rate per ton. So as far as I know, there isn't an established rate per ton yet with wind waste through the co-op. Is that right, Selectman
To the
Jessup?
best of my knowledge, the figures that I gave you, this is what the tipping fee is proposed to be, and we voted to accept that proposal, as we had no cheaper way to go. So whatever it was, if it's at $88 and then it's going to eventually it hits 115 or something. As I
So,
recall,
yeah.
those numbers are what we're gonna be
I
paying.
never got an actual written thing, but
You might not have
is
gotten
Jim-
anything, but that's what the co-op voted on to go into the contract with the incinerator.
is Jim Pressure still part of that?
He
Is
is,
he?
and if you have his number from before, you have his number right now.
Okay, all right.
So give Jim a call
I
and
will.
he can walk you through the financials better than I can right here, right now.
So in any case, that's got to be nailed down, but that's a significant, that's a lot.
And 88 was a deal from what they wanted to charge us initially. It's going up a lot
Yeah.
for everybody.
Well, I remember one of the years it was 100 plus,
Oh,
either
yeah.
105 or 115. Yeah, I do
I
recall
think it
that
was
discussion.
116 in the last year.
So we also have money set aside for replacement bins and parts. And I did review that with Kevin. He felt that was sufficient. I think one of the things that I'm a little concerned about is that as bins are removed from residences by Pinard, this is providing the board elects to or continues down the road with Casella, as the contract is still to be discussed tonight. But with that assumption, it's entirely possible there are going to be some residences that have the wrong mix of remaining bins. Like they've got a small recycle bin, but they need something big for their trash, something of that sort. So there's going to be some, I'm sure there's going to be some issues. The only good thing is that if you do end up executing this Casella agreement, that the recycle bins that are going to stay at people's homes to become the trash bins are already badged Casella. So they already say Casella on the side. In any event, so there is some money for that. In the commercial solid waste, we're seeing a slight reduction. So I brought that number down. This is 100% offset by revenue. So where you see the 190,000 here in the revenues, you're going to see 190,000 there. Let's see. The other, and within this agreement is the 170,000 for the Casella agreement. So if that changes for some reason, this will have to change. In the PD budget, just briefly, you'll see that I've noted. Oh,
This is where I was going to ask
Oh,
a question
sorry.
before.
Yeah.
I don't see any money in here for an increase in like equipment or any of that stuff for an expanded recycle center at the transfer station, because as of, nothing's written in stone yet, but it's looking like we're not gonna be curbside recycling it, and we've got a lot of residents who want to continue, and what does that do to our budget?
So the board had approved using ARPA funds for the installation of the Phase 3 power and also purchase of the, I think the first piece of equipment was the baler. And in doing so, in the highway budget, we increased electricity to account for the Phase 3 power, in addition to the supply increase and the delivery increase of the electricity. So we did make those provisions. Outside.
Would there be extra bins for mixed recyclables? Would there be extra bins for cardboard and newsprint? And I mean, how does that work? That bin rental and transportation costs are money.
Right.
So what does that mean?
So that would be a good discussion when your public works director is reviewing his budget with you, because we have discussed that. There are different options, so I don't want to get too far ahead. He may have just made a decision on some, but that's an area where there, obviously, depending upon how far you want to go with that, you may want to add money to his budget. So in the police department. Again, you see that on the underneath officers' wages, there's 4 open positions, 1 lieutenant, 1 detective, and 2 patrol. as of today. And you'll see also in the merit line what those positions are that are included in that particular merit line. In the retirements, you'll see that I've noted the retirement is going, for Group 1, it's going from 14.06 down to 13.53%, and Group 2 retirement reduces from 33.88% to 31.28%. In the
Question for him. Does that reflect the reduction that we're getting back? from
No,
the
so-
retirement?
So starting this quarter, the legislature is refunding, I guess it's through the legislation, but we will be getting refunded a certain percentage of our retirement costs.
Is that a refund or a reduction?
It's actually a refund.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be receiving a check, but that does not affect the rates for 23. So any money that we receive that way would be miscellaneous revenue to the town.
We don't know what that is.
We don't have an
rates
exact
go
number.
up, though?
Rates went down.
So the retirement rate went down.
The retirement rate went down for both Group 1 and Group 2. So you'll see at the bottom of page 11, because Group 1 and Group 2 are both listed there, you see January through June rates, and then the July through December rates are less. The other thing I want to point out, and this is key because one of the people that takes care of both the weapons and the taser assurance plan, they'll need to make a change at the PD for someone to take this over. But our body camera contract is up. I believe the taser assurance plan is also up. And then I already discussed the weapons change that they're wanting to make. One other thing on about the fifth line down on the PD equipment maintenance, repair, and tech, where it shows the body cameras and taser assurance. The Cellbrite license increased from $4,200 to $6,100, $4,300 to $6,100, an $1,800 increase. And we're looking into that right now to make sure that that wasn't an error. But they changed the method by which they sell to smaller agencies, and it's now going through a third party. And I have a sneaking suspicion that that's the third party's cut, but we'll find out. But that is right now, that's in this budget at that amount.
So we need to ask, Abe, is it still worth it to do
Right.
$6,100? Where we would, for years we got reimbursed for this.
Well, and
when we started out.
that's correct. We often received a grant from 3M, covered it for several years.
And then Tilton School.
Right. So the only other thing I can think to do is like what we did with polygraphs, because other agencies do come in from time to time to want to use the equipment, and that we could, set some sort of fee schedule to help offset or defray some of the expense that we have.
If we
We
ever
started
fall-
getting the Cellbrite 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
No, I'd say about maybe 8.
8, yeah.
So I'm sure that by now there's got to be some other competitors that do the same thing. I can't believe that they have the sole monopoly on that. So maybe you can take a look, or
Yeah.
Abe can, because they're kind of like playing a gotcha game.
They have quite the lock. I did look at one point for myself. They are the player in this sort of thing, and unfortunately, with all the rapid changes in the technology, you can't have what was useful last year. People get new phones, so it has to be updated all the time for new models.
You should have them double check.
I will. Yep.
If there's any other.
I'll save that, chief, because I'm wondering how often we use this.
Well,
Want a bit?
she does, and you did just, you, well,
Yeah, we use it.
uh, I mean, you did also just send your detective to training for this. So, generally speaking, when someone returns for something like that, there's, a significant increase in use because now, you're trained on how to use it properly, and so I would think that, from what I know and what I've been asked to help out with, there is quite a bit of use by us. But I think, there might be some opportunity to set some fee with it as well and make it available to other agencies on that sort of basis. The other thing is, which would have to be paid out of forfeiture, there's a license fee that I don't have in here nor in the IT budget that is specific to an item that is it's about $600 a year that can be paid out of forfeiture. So, and that's a licensing issue. Otherwise, it would be budgeted here, but it can be paid by forfeiture. Then janitorial services marked here. You'll see the note on weapons expense, which is at the top of page 13, ammo plus additional certification ammo. The taser supplies, pistol range expense, and then the P320 uppers, red dot, and holsters. So right now it's got $15,000 in there. Yes.
What's a red dot?
That's where I know about
Oh,
it.
like a
I know
laser?
slightly more than what you know on this. Yes. And according to Sergeant Penalt, it increases the accuracy manyfold.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Totally.
Yeah. And I would think that'd be pretty intimidating if you find
That
a
would
red
be-
dot on
yeah,
you.
Yeah, red dot on you.
That'd be right.
Okay, I give up.
Yeah. So moving along, so that's the weapons, and you will hear more about that, I'm sure. There is a possibility we could reduce the legal expense here. There's not going to be a lot done in 23 necessarily until maybe the very end of 23 for the contract. But outside of that, this is the Park Commission's budget.
Where is your legal fee?
It's at the third from the last line and on page 13 under Police Department. So $1,500. We've spent nothing this year to date. In Culture and Recreation, that is they've swapped out the knocker ball for the owl show. I know there's a different name for it, but the only other items in here that I have to question them on is they budget for a secretary and yet they don't pay a secretary. And their summer employee, they budget a lot more for the summer employee than the summer employee works. So the summer employee is about 40 or 55% of that amount there. So there may be some opportunities there. They have asked me to also to look into additional, if we need to do any sort of service or additional cameras at Riverfront Park, which I'm looking into for them. The Park Maintenance Island, the money here is matching money for the landscaping project and other engineering services. And then the other items here, these are from Hall Library has made their request, Old Home Day. They came before the Budget Committee last night. Tilton Events, this is the internal event committee. They're planning 3 events for spring, summer, and fall. And then Park Cemetery, I've not been in touch with the person there, but each year they say they need more money, but they don't request it. So I have to see if they're willing to make a formal request for more money and change that. Outside of that, on the outside agencies, there are, and this is important to note, the only ones I show in the department request were the ones that received funding this last year. The other ones that are making requests but didn't get funding are listed there. So you'll see Lakes Region Mental Health. They were not funded in 22, but I do show that they've made a request of $7,000. The reason for doing this is so that when you're looking at the cover you're looking at the totals for that grouping of accounts, you're looking at apples to apples. So you can quickly tell that, gee, in 22 we had a budget of 146,000. In 23 it said 150. So there were some slight increases. Now that can change, and if you feel as though this isn't representative, if you want to have those numbers in the department request, I can certainly move those, and that might make sense to do so. I was going to touch base with the budget committee too when this is presented to them at a later date. Outside of that, I've been unable to find the community action program or Franklin visiting nurses requests.
I don't believe they requested yet.
Yeah, I had not seen anything. So that's how we end up with an $82,169 increase, or 1.5% apples to apples year to year. If we move on to revenue,
I have a question.
Yes, fire.
Maybe I'm hallucinating it. We had a request from the Pines Community Center.
yes,
Is that for 2022 or is that for 2023?
for 23.
So where would that be?
It's on the next to last line in the outside agencies.
No, there was a request. There was a request for
Special request.
a special request.
Parking lot
for-
money.
That email.
Oh, no, I didn't see that. I don't have that.
I don't have my phone or I send it to you.
Okay.
So,
Here.
yeah, if somebody send that to me, I'll look at that. I wasn't aware of that. So, let me just ask, would you prefer to see those requests that, even if they weren't funded in 22, would you prefer to see those requests
Yeah,
in
I'm
the,
gonna forward it to you.
in the 23
And-
column, department request column? You would? Okay. All right, is that a consensus?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
please.
I will do that then. So outside of that, we have
Yeah, I just sent it.
so in the revenues, the most significant items here, we're seeing a little leveling off in the motor vehicles. It's not bad. It's just, it's just not at the same trajectory it was during the pandemic. Rooms and meals and highway block grant and water, we're waiting for numbers for this year still from the state because they revise them at tax rate setting time, so those will change. And then probably the most significant here is in building permits. We're expecting to go from just under 55,000 at the end of this year to up to about 80,000. And that's primarily for two reasons. One is the dialysis center and then the preserve. And the preserve could exceed, our budget for next year, depending upon how far they get and what they're prepared to do during the calendar year 23. So that leaves our revenue slightly higher than what we're looking at for year end this year, but we came in short of our revenue budget that we set out at the beginning of the year. If you turn to page 16, which at the top of 16, you'll see these are our balances as of the end of September. The revolving fund I expect to be at parity or better by the end of the year, because we'll have Black Friday details, we'll have other details associated with the holidays, and worst cases, we'll have to make up any deficit prior to the end of the year in that fund. But that fund we use to make up the amount of money that we needed for the cruiser purchases. And the board did approve up to $10,000 to use of ARPA funds, but so we can make up for that. The recreation revolving fund is 14.6, and then you see all the capital reserve funds total $514,394, and these are all funded for 22. There's nothing that hasn't been funded. And then on the which didn't quite come out right on page 17, what you see there are suggested warrant articles for 23. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are the same items from this prior year: the road, streets, bridges, highway equipment, island, reval, improving, maintaining lakes, senior center. In addition, we have the CBA wage increase warrant article for 48,822. And then last year at town meeting, it sounded as though the town meeting consensus was they preferred to see a warrant article for a cruiser as opposed to having it in the operating budget. And unfortunately, we don't have any. We have very little detail money to use towards anything. So were that warrant article to be part of this, it would have to really cover the full boat of the car and upfitting. One item to note is that there is about $56,000 of forfeiture funds that I'm working to get released to us. It's going to take some time for a number of reasons, but it hasn't lapsed. So it's a matter of it's a slow process, but eventually we should receive about 56,000. We have additional forfeiture funds already that, when added to that, we could almost purchase an entire cruiser, which would have to be dedicated to the detective division because of the use of the funds and what's eligible for that fund use. So there's just that as an aside. So as you consider whether you want to have a warrant article for a cruiser. And then in terms of the issues that we're faced with, say for this building, and as we look at any of our other structures, even looking at the roof of the new police department, for us to replace that in 30 years, we have to put away about $6,000 a year. So it's you're looking at about $180,000, maybe more at that point in time. So we really need to start a capital reserve fund that encompasses town structures.
And that would be like things like the roof on
Right.
this thing here.
Right. So, and this really ties into having a more formalized capital improvements program where we're setting aside money every year. It's less stressful for taxpayers because there's fewer, bumps in the road. And so, in any event, that's a suggestion here, and it says structure to mean physical structures. So, be it the Riverfront Park Pavilion, which isn't a building necessarily. This building, they could be identified, or it could be just open-ended. Either way, the tax rates that you see listed here for all those warrant articles, those are all based upon our current 22 valuation of $643,138,792. And if everything in this budget and the revenues came to fruition in 23, we'd be looking at a tax rate of roughly $6.32 for the town portion. That is the net tax effort. So that's before overlay, that's before war service credits. And it's something that you compare year to year to and see where we are. And you may have seen in my report to you for this week that I sent on Wednesday, that I listed out what our next net tax effort was for 22 and where I expect we're going to be. And then also I did note for you that I'm going to be making a recommendation to use a significant amount of money to adjust the rate this year, because it really recognizes the fact that we severely underspent the budget because of the inability to fill positions. And it is recognizing that we're returning a good portion of that money to the taxpayers. So in any event, that is the draft budget as it exists currently, and I will be making changes to it and providing it to you and noting for you where those changes are. And if you have any questions at all, happy to go through anything with you. And I would recommend that at your 20th meeting, you would either review the police department or highway department, because those are two significant budgets. And then work into your agenda schedules, and working with Jeannie, all the other departments so that you can get through them. And the budget committee is going to be starting meeting, I want to say the 19th of this month, and then the 2nd, 16th, and 30th of November. And from that point forward, I think they're going weekly, is what it sounded like. So, so we are about a month ahead of where we were last year. Last year at this time, I presented the draft budget to you in the beginning of November. So, so we've got a little time to work on this prior to making presentation to the budget committee. So other than that, that's all I have for you.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Chairman, how do you think would be the best way to get questions to Tim, in discussion on things? As take a good look at it, we'll have some, what's the best way of communicating that? Meeting, non-meeting, so that we all know the answers. 'Cause,
I'd be happy, if I get any emails and I can respond to them and send them to the full board, or I'd be happy to meet with.
Public information, that's it.
That might not be public information?
Well, I think if I'm asking you a question about the budget and you're replying to us all, it should be.
Blind copy, then we're
Oh.
not having it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I could blind copy it out, yeah.
And then everybody would know the answers to it.
And I have some questions here to answer for you that I'll get back to you. And I can also put those as an addendum to my report as well, or put them in the notes when these things are resolved or if questions were answered, depending upon what it is.
Yeah, and I think, John, maybe if we pose a question and it's one we think we should bring into this forum, then we can just say, okay, let's address that one at the next meeting. So.
Great.
Might as well stay there.
I'm sorry?
So you might as well stay there. Sell us up next.
Yeah.
My time's up.
Yeah, it's better.
Clock must be running
Believe
fast.
me,
Huh?
I get it.
Next on the agenda is review and approve agreement, curbside solid waste collection agreement with Casella.
Do we have the air conditioning on?
It is on.
Freezing.
Is
You
it too
want it
cold?
off.
Let me turn it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can turn it down.
Thank you.
It was very warm when we came in.
I know, that's why we had to turn it up, but I was over there trying to turn it down, and I don't think I did. I might have turned it up more.
All right.
While we're waiting for Tim, question, do we have consensus on sending the agreement to the attorney, the liability waiver?
Water.
Yes,
Yeah.
I didn't hear.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. While we're waiting for Tim, I'll also ask the question of the board. When I took out of the sign now folder the benefits in terms of the FSA services. Would the board prefer that I sign it, or would we prefer that our HR head sign it? It's one signature.
I didn't sign it because I had a question on it.
Yeah, there's only one, but there's
No.
only one signature.
I understand that, but I had a question on overall on that. Are we upping the FSA?
No, nothing is changed, and the cost has not changed, it's staying the same. It's, all it is an accounting process that they're changing.
The class that I attended last night with New Hampshire Municipal was on Primex, and it was on healthcare. And they had said that in 2023, that HRA and FSA were going to increase the amounts that one could take out. And then depending on what the selectmen, municipal bodies, I should say, not just selectmen, because there was other people there, but could agree to the amount carried over would increase as well. So that's why I was asking that question, if that document included that.
No, this is something separate. In fact, what you're talking about, the board already, that was already dealt with
I've got it.
months ago.
So,
Yeah.
chair sign or HR director, what's the preference?
I would say HR.
I agree, I think HR.
Make a motion to subrogate our authority to sign the document to the HR director.
Second, motion and a second, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion passes. Back to solid waste collection, transportation and disposal agreement. So our finance director had made some suggestions in terms of looking at the agreement, and, there were some concerns as well. I believe repair, bin purchases, correct? And the question about non-town maintained roads.
Yes.
So,
Let me just try and pop that up.
Yeah, I think I need to find my notes.
Are we going over how are we doing this without questions?
I think Selectman Constantino, it's the questions that we need to be able to get to either to have the review and then to be able to say what we want for changes to go back to Casella, or the overall approval of it, so. But I think my guess is that we've got some things that we would like to have changed and then take back before we finalize or finalize the final agreement.
So is Tim gonna go over his changes, or are we going over what we want changed?
I didn't have,
No, they were just suggestions.
yeah, I didn't have changes.
Is the contract? Yeah, I'll get my coffee table, so. Let's see if it's emailed.
Is that your review of fee section email? That was September 7th.
Oh, yeah, fees, yes. Yeah, that's really the part I looked at.
October.
It should be in your binders. I saw it in someone's binder.
Let's see.
Was it?
Here's a copy.
I don't even have a copy.
You don't have a copy? Do you want a copy?
Okay.
Is this your memo of September 1?
Do you want, I got the September 14th. Do you want this, Tim?
Sure. Thank you.
And here's
Yes. September 7th. Yeah, that looks familiar. Yeah, so when I reviewed this, I looked through the parts that pertain to finance. So the price in the contract is what they had in their bid. So the additional cart service, this was one of the things that the board wanted, but we currently don't have any with Pennard. So this was talking about an item that was a potential, but and Pinard had a program for it, but they didn't actually have any in place. So, and we've not received any revenue from Pinard for this, and they confirmed that they didn't have any. So, so that number 2, which was the additional cart service, it's really it's not in here. I'm sorry, it is in here, but it's not clear as to who pays for the additional tipping fees. So in other words, if they are charging a resident $200 a year for a cart, are we then having to pay the tipping fees on that? How are they going to manage the tipping fees on the cart during that period of time?
Is it clear though that they're charging the resident $200 a year for the card? So if a resident moves into Tilton, a new resident, okay, let's say on Maple Court, we have 4 apartments coming in. They have, they're entitled to curbside pickup, just like everyone else is. Why is it up to the resident to pay for the card that they're entitled to with everybody else contractually?
It's the premise was because of the flow control, the waste ordinance. It specifies how much you can have. You can't have multiple garbage bins for one place.
So you have new construction, new building.
Yeah.
They're coming in.
Right.
They
get a bin.
They get a bin.
Yeah.
But here it's saying additional cart service that they're providing the residents with 65 gallon for an annual fee of $200.
Right. So that was if that new residents said, "Hey, I need more bins.
So it's an additional.
I want more bins." Well, we provide one and we pay for one. If you want anything more than that, you have to pay for it.
All right, so.
And you contract through Casella your $200, but we should not have to pay the tipping fee for those bins.
Okay, now back that thought up. It's a brand new building, it's a brand new construction, and there's 4 housing people going in and they need 4 new bins. The town of Tilton pays the $200 per bin?
No.
these are additional.
No, this is just,
Where in the contract? I don't see anywhere here in the contract that says we will deliver.
It's right here.
Where?
If you look on page 3.
Yeah.
We have page 3 there.
Yeah,
Fees, section 1, the town shall pay Casella as the following. And it says additional cart service.
there it is. Yeah.
And
Well,
it says that the contract will provide residents with 65 gallon cart and the town will pay $200 per cart.
right, but that's what I'm getting at. It's telling us that the town of Tilton will pay $200 per car.
It's supposed to be the resident. Yeah. So that was one.
So somebody moved, entirely new building, new service. We have cluster homes that just 45 new cluster homes up there. So there's 45 new bins that let's take that scenario to 2 years ago. That's 45 new bins at $200 a piece.
No, we provide, so when Country Meadows went in, we provided the bins for all those homes.
Yeah.
And there was no additional cost other than we had to buy the bins for the town.
But there's nothing in this contract that says
Right.
that we buy the bins.
what that
Nothing, that
cost
the
is.
town of Tilton buys the bins. And there's something in here that says extra bins, and it's not real clear that if the resident pays it or the town of Tilton pays it.
So
That's what I'm trying to get at.
because we own the carts, if you look under definitions for carts, means 65 or 96 gallon wheeled, one
Yeah.
per residence for acceptable waste, owned and provided by the town of Tilton at its sole cost and expense. So because we purchased all those carts for, pennies on the dollar from them years ago, those are our carts. So we would buy carts for new residences. This was, and I think what shows here is that they have never had this before. They have not had an additional card service. They were trying to pattern this, I think, after Pennard's, which Pennard charges a fee directly to the consumer, and anything that's tipped out of that is paid for by Pennard, not by the town. And then we get a cut of the revenue. It's a small cut, but
So
we get,
can we negotiate this? Because you've got people, you're gonna have to change your budget. You get 10 new people, that's $2,000 a year that you're gonna pay a rental fee.
no.
They're gonna pay the rental fee.
Well,
We,
under fees, it says here, section 1, that the town shall pay Casella fees as following. And
Right.
then it has,
that needs to be
so that,
clarified there.
that needs to be
yeah.
straightened out so we know if we
Right.
need to buy, like you said, if 4 residents come in, what's that going to cost the town for the bins? And is it
We
add
don't,
on to the contract?
we don't even pay $200 for a bin now. The bin price is about $175.
So what I'm getting at is you want me to do a contract, and I can't sign a contract based on this.
Oh, I completely understand.
So we need to figure out language to say, what is the bin? And if somebody has a bin that, somebody moves to town, new construction, they come in, who pays and how much do they pay?
Right. You do understand this is not my contract.
I get it, I know.
I'm not responsible for this contract.
And
You're the
under-
contract
I just want to be sure.
You're the contract.
I just looked at the fees. I looked at the fees.
I get it,
and under,
but you're sitting in the hot seat.
I understand. Believe me, I'm getting that message loud and clear. Got that one.
so under Tim's suggestion,
Yeah,
he says additional card services, since we have no private additional cards now at Pennard, recommend the board nix this provision, and for those people with overflow, require them to buy purple bags that they can then take to the transfer station.
It's a great idea. I wish I had said that.
You did say that.
I know. I wish I had read that and reminded
So,
myself.
well,
yeah, but that doesn't make sense because now you have people that move into a new building, a new construction, and they gotta buy purple bags and take them to the transfer station.
Anybody can buy
Anybody.
purple bags.
And somebody next door is getting their trash being picked up.
They're still getting their
But
trash picked up.
If you move into a new house, there's no bin, the town provides you with a bin.
Right.
But you feel you have more garbage than will fit into your one bin.
Right.
that
There
week.
comes the extra
Yeah.
$200.
Or the purple bag.
Or the purple
bags.
bag.
Or go buy purple bags.
I'm all about the purple bag.
So our
Yeah.
decision becomes, number one, the wording, I think that Pat's asking about, is to make sure that if someone's purchasing, and if someone needs a new bin, there's a new resident, that they are paying, that it's not the town of Tilton paying for it, correct?
No, the town of Tilton does
Does.
purchase the bins for a new resident, for a new,
One,
For an additional bin.
right. So
That's the $200.
that's the $200. And
Right.
what Jeannie was so kind to remind me that I had written was get rid of that because they don't even do it. They were doing this to try to put something in place for us. Pennard does, but didn't do it here. No one required that here. So
I say get rid
I
So-
would just get rid of it.
Yeah.
additional card surface.
just
service.
scratch that.
Yeah.
devil's advocate, I know you scratched it, but
Yeah.
devil's advocate, because we don't now we're not gonna be doing curbside recycling.
Right,
I'm
which
gonna-
is exactly why.
Yeah, I wonder how much in terms of increase that we would see in solid waste garbage. So just.
All of mine.
Yeah, so,
I'm not going to the dump.
so,
And I have-
Transfer station.
And I have 2 bins, recycle bins, that are now gonna go into.
And a lot of people will have that happen.
all right, so
Well,
next step.
That is one of the other things that I think I suggested to the board, that your ordinance originally started when we were doing pay-as-you-throw. It was modified to remove the requirement for pay-as-you-throw and change it to the curbside recycling. So more than likely, it needs a review and modification to account for the fact that we're not curbside recycling.
Got
No
it.
doubt.
Yeah.
All right,
Nix that line.
all right. And it's,
But the extra bin, I would say no. We still have purple bags. We won't have to order any.
We have a few.
We do.
so the next items, now that we've nixed that, the
Baseball.
next item under fee adjustments, the $4 of gas.
Yeah, I had noted that, this was in August, we paid $5 and a little over 19 cents per gallon for diesel. And that's with no taxes. That's the municipal rate. So we're clearly already over $4 in their agreement. But this is how they priced it. This is what they put in. So
How do we track that? And, I mean, they just send us a bill each month? Do we know what that cost is gonna run? 'Cause, you know, right now with the Saudis and just raise the
Yeah.
whole thing up, it could hit $6 a gallon, which would be, what, a 50% increase on their fuel.
right.
So
And
how do we come up with the number?
Yeah,
I
how do
mean,
you track
If they
it?
run 8
We
miles to the
wouldn't-
gallon.
we wouldn't be able to track it. I suppose we could approximate it based on what they provide us for a report, but it says the amount of fuel used shall be calculated using a rolling daily average of the prior 3 months. So they've got to show fuel costs for each monthly invoice. But it's just, we did have to pay a fuel surcharge when we had Bestway, which is the company that Casella purchased. There was a period of time where it was probably a lower rate per gallon. It was probably $3 or something. And there were many that we had to pay that were over that. It wasn't a significant amount of money back then, and I would say the only thing in our favor is that we don't have a lot of roads. But who's to say? I just don't know what that would mean.
I wonder if we can get them to give us an idea.
Well, there must
I
be
mean, they know
someone.
They must know how many gallons it takes. I mean, how much fuel it takes to operate the truck for a day. Plus,
Or for a mile.
well, the thing is that their mile is stop and go.
That's
So,
true.
So it's like,
But it
you know,
still costs
if
them
they
a
go,
certain.
if they go out and
certain amount.
collect like on a Tuesday in anywhere USA, they're gonna be stopping every so far. What's that running them per gallons? And then we just add in to go from Tilton to the incinerator.
Well,
Couple of them.
for the purposes of a
think they
contract, unless you're going to change the dollar figure, that's the threshold, which I would doubt they'd be willing to do without repricing their contract, because they're already going to be underwater on their fuel. It's just going to have to be a cost of doing business, I would imagine, or try to get them to change it. But whatever it is going to be whatever it is. I mean, I don't know how I wouldn't even know how to go about budgeting for that. That would just be whatever we overspend in the collection line would be attributable to the cost of the diesel
Well,
fuel.
you can't, you can't possibly predict what this is.
So
You can or can't?
Can't.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, they should know how
Alright.
many gallons they use a day typically to operate their truck. I mean, just a rough guess. I mean, they gotta know. They bid on the contract.
Right, but what would the point of getting that from them? Like, even if they could estimate what we're gonna, I wrote down, maybe we can get a cost estimate from them at, say, $5 or $6 a gallon. But
it's gonna be more than $5 or $6 a gallon because we're up there
right,
on ours, diesel.
yeah.
We're up, but just a little over 6,
Well, and
non-municipal.
well, that's true, because that would be non-municipal. Yeah. So in any case,
Or give us a not to exceed number or something like that. I mean, we can't.
That's a lot of gas. All right, next.
so what does the board want to do with that?
Well, you say there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, John suggested, seeing if they would provide a not to exceed number, but given how volatile energy costs have been,
I thought you were gonna say something else. Yeah.
I think they'd probably be unlikely to give a not to, if they did, it'd probably be $15, and they'd probably want to increase their first year, by a certain amount to account for fuel.
I mean, we're going to sign a contract, and I'd like to know what the amount is.
It costs what it costs. Fuel
I know,
is coming out of somebody's pocket. If they can't make a profit, they can't pick up our garbage. And if they can't pick up our garbage, we go to the Meredith style, which I'm totally in favor of. And you know what the Meredith style is?
Oh, I do.
Every man for himself.
I love it. Yeah.
There is no curbside.
You'd save a lot of money.
Sponsored by the town of Meredith. And think of all the business opportunities that affords some people. The guy with a truck goes out, he's got his little route, he brings it to Pennacook. He takes care of the tipping fees, he takes care of the insurance, the truck, he takes care of everything. And
I
the
know a
town takes
16-year-old
care of
with a
nothing.
pickup that would be very
But
interested
the
in that.
town of Meredith has a deluxe recycle center, which they've got a lot of money in, if I'm not mistaken, Jeannie.
So what does the board want to do with the fuel?
What's their cutoff? $4?
Mm-hmm.
Not to exceed. See if you can do it not to exceed.
Me?
Well, you're the contract guy.
No.
So you've been the contract guy for a lot of years in this building. Yes, you have.
It's not me.
I would like to see
It's
if
in
they
his job
would
description.
set their limit at 5 instead of 4. Because nowhere is the fuel under $5 a gallon for diesel.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
But
For 5?
The base
Yeah.
of 5.
I would like to float that to them.
how did I?
And that was rewritten.
Yeah.
Tim,
It's an
That's
honor
what-
to do that, Tim. Trust me, it's an honor.
If you don't do it, who do you recommend to do it?
He's looking at you, Jeannie.
Well, no, I mean,
All of us.
or do we,
I'm looking at all of you.
Oh, not me.
or do we have them come in and we sit down and
No,
negotiate?
I think that might be
would
the thing to
best.
do.
That would be
Yeah.
best, have somebody from their company
Then why are we
come
spending
in.
the time now?
Well, we
Right.
want to
They
know
need to
what
shore it
we
up and
want
try
to
it.
do.
You got to know what you want. All right. So now you know you want to get rid of the cart service. You want to have them fix that. And what else was there?
And the base number for diesel is 5.
Yep.
What else did you have?
Just noting for you that the increase is a minimum of 5%. And then
I had that too.
that CPI and the urban garbage and trash collection,
Yep.
you can't listen to the regular CPI that you hear on the news. It's vastly different.
Yep.
It's about a quarter of what the regular CPI is right now. But and then I found the language cumbersome in that.
Excuse of proponents.
The greater of 5% or the year-over-year percentage change in the consumer price index for garbage and trash collection. Consumer price index increases will be based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, blah, blah, blah. Most recent month prior to the date of the price increase reset, using the unadjusted percentage change for the most recent month as compared to the same month for the prior year. So I'm a pretty intelligent guy, but I had to read that like 18 times, and I still
Not
scratch my
entirely
head.
sure, they could
Yeah.
twist that one around.
So no issues with the payment schedule. Outside of that, that was really it. So maybe on that where is that? That's an additional fee increase. So it's right underneath the fuel.
Yep.
Yep.
It's that paragraph there. So you might want to look at that as well. Outside of that, in the Best Way and original Casella contracts, there were fines for non-performance. We did not have those, if I remember correctly, in the Pinard agreement. And those aren't in here either.
Under excuse of performance, and you talk about reading it 18 times. I've read this about 18 times, and I'm not as intelligent as you are, but I really do understand some things. It just goes in circles. Every single thing imaginable that could happen happens, and then at the very end, and in case you didn't read above, everything that could happen happens, notwithstanding anything to the contrary into this agreement, including but not limited to the occurrence of excused event, the town shall not be obligated to pay for services not rendered by the Casella. It just goes in circles, this whole entire excuse of performance.
So that may be something you want to have your attorney look at, perhaps.
Has anybody read that?
I tried.
So I'll give you an example of how this can bite you. So right now, we were put on notice by our current vendor that there was a delivery or a pickup made. This is some time ago now. I want to say maybe 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago, that was taken down to the incinerator, and when it passes through a detector for hazard, for radioactive materials. Thank you. And it went off. It sounded off, and what typically happens is it's because either someone is currently undergoing chemo, and there might be some sort of diapers or cloths or something, or sometimes for pets. And so this happened to be kitty litter that was deemed to be radioactive to some degree, that it set off this thing. They rejected the load, meaning they said, no, we're not going to take it. Well, actually, they set it aside, because oftentimes what happens is it will dissipate within a certain period of time. Next day they can try it again, and it'll go through. It didn't happen. They kept it longer than they normally would. Finally, they had to take it to another facility. The facility they would normally take it to was closed that particular day, but they had to tip it somewhere. So they found another facility that they were able to tip it. They took it in, they tipped it, but at that facility there was an issue where the operator of the facility had a licensing issue pertaining to the proper use or proper operation related to things that made them very nervous about this material. And at this point in time, because it had been tracked from the original tipping, DES was notified, as well as somebody else, maybe DOT, I don't know. There were two departments that were notified, and they were tracking this all the way through. So when it got to this facility where it could be tipped, this facility had bad experience with these agencies, was very apprehensive about having to fill out the paperwork. So they brought their consultant in to fill out the paperwork, which generated a $6,800 fee from the consultant that was then passed on to the vendor. Then the vendor notified us that because our collection was imperfect, that we were going to be responsible for this bill. Now, we're trying to sort this all out because nobody asked for this consultant to be brought in. But that's where where it gets a little hairy. This is the first time I've ever seen anything like this. I have heard about these tips getting rejected before, but generally, everything goes through. We have had occasion where we've had to take something to a different facility and have had to pay more per ton because they wouldn't honor the wind waste co-op fee. But that was because the co-op was closed. I forget why, but there was some issue there. So these interruptions happen, but that's why I'd be really careful with things like this, that it can generate cost for us. And this is with a vendor that's trying very hard not for us to have to bear this cost. So, pushing back and fighting it. So, anyway.
Just
Yeah, I know.
ask
I know.
their representative.
I know what you're thinking. I know.
Radioactive caps.
Oil,
I'm gonna
5
change my middle
gallon,
name to
you
Gilman.
have a 5-gallon bucket of oil in your
Yes.
garbage can, and then they picked it up
The
and
lack of
dumped it
sleep.
into their truck, and all of a sudden they're trailing oil down the street or whatever. That would be covered somewhat under that clause, I think, because Tilton didn't do their part.
So anyway, that's all I had on that contract, unless.
So do you want Casella to come in so you can talk to them?
Well, can we have our lawyer look at some of this,
First, yeah.
That one that you
Yeah.
pointed out too.
that excuse of performance?
Is that consensus? You want the attorney to look at this?
Please.
Yeah.
Especially the excuse of performance is one that's mind-boggling.
The whole contract, not just
I
that
think
piece?
the whole
Yeah,
thing.
no, I get it, I just don't like what it is.
Yeah, the whole contract, but particularly on that excuse of performance, because it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Well, and also the fee increase.
Yeah, the
That
fee,
was
yeah.
Excuse of performance.
The annual fee increase.
Yes, good.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
please.
And I definitely want to dump the $200 card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes. Bump the baseline.
And then once that comes back, then we can have them come in.
A few of them, my bedside table. Free table.
Sad.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That wasn't bad, Tim, after that.
Hey,
20 minutes.
anybody looking for a cat?
Just only one that will.
Anybody
the
want a
one
cat?
that glows in the dark.
Glows in the dark.
The time being 7:59, I make a motion to enter into non-public session per RSA 91A32A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a public hearing, and 2, request that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted, and RSA 91A32B, the hiring of any person as a public employee, and RSA 91A32C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine, or other levy if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant, and RSA 91A32D, consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real or personal property, which, if discussed in public, would likely benefit a party or parties whose interests were adverse to those of the general public.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Constantino, yes.
Roll call vote.
Kesselman, yes.
Ruggles, yes?
Harvey, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
This conference will now be recorded.
Tim can't do that stuff to me.
Tim's probably watching.
Updates. I don't like updates. It changes too many.
Yeah, Outlook changed how I send emails.
I make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session of October 6th, 2022, because disclosure would adversely affect the reputation of a person other than a member of the board.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Scanlon is not here, so I'll circle back to him. Selectmen's reports, continuing. Selectman Constantino.
The Tilton School is doing their cleanup of the seniors on October 8th. We have 11 groups that are going out. The executive committee senior fundraiser for the senior center is October 22nd. It's a spaghetti supper. Our executive committee will meet again on October 24th at 4:30. Halloween, Jeannie, would you ask Gail if she wants me to go out and get the Halloween prizes for the parade or not? I will be more than happy to do that.
Do you mean buy the gift cards?
Yeah, unless she's already got them. And also, if we need the pumpkins for the kids that win, we hand out the pumpkins. Also, judges, selectmen, if you want to be a judge, let me know. Otherwise, we'll look for four different judges.
I
That
like
night,
doing that, I volunteer.
I know.
I'll do it.
You do it, Eric,
Yeah, I'll do it.
Scott, okay,
Yeah.
good.
This is on the
29th.
Yeah, 29th.
29. Yeah,
This is the
This
this is
22nd.
for the
Do you want to
kids parade.
invite Joyce?
Joyce Llewellyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's always good with that too.
You gonna be around?
It's usually Jane and Joyce that do that. Yeah. All right, and then this is a third party that reached out to me, and I did call the gentleman back. His name is Chris Branch. I don't know, Jeannie, did you get a phone call from him? No. On Hill Road, at first, it sounded like it was a, excuse me, it sounded like it was a civil matter, but it's a little bit more than a civil matter. I told him to get in touch with Jeannie or Scott to get on the agenda. It goes on 23 Hill Road, and 31 Hill Road is cutting logs, reselling the logs, and that's not the issue, but when he gets enough debris, he burns the log, whatever the debris is, and then he throws in TVs and mattresses and a lot of things that he was not supposed to be doing. And then there's a lot of other things that are going on up there. And he had a plethora of things to deal with. And rather than tell you all about it, I think it's worth listening to him because he's reached out to the PD, he reached out to land use, and he's reached out to the fire. And he'll call the fire department, and then the fire department will go up because it's not an emergency, they're not in a hurry. But by the time they get there, the fire's out. So they really can't tell if there's a burning TV, that kind of thing. So I did give him Tim Joubert's number and Catherine's number to follow up on. And I gave him Jeannie's number and Scott's number to get on the agenda, but apparently he's not called yet. But it is serious enough because you don't burn those kinds of things in there. And I did check with Abe, and there are a few calls going to that residence on a couple of different items. So it's worth following up on. There's two trailers on the corner. I brought this up before, bring it up again because they're still there on the corner of Prospect and Academy. I was told, excuse me, I was told that they were being removed, but they're still there. There was one trailer that was taken out But then the trailer came back the next day. And there's people living in them.
Who would that go to?
Catherine,
It's on Cropsey's property, you know, where the chiropractic building was?
Yeah.
In that corner right there, there's two trailers that I don't even think anybody should be living in, but yeah.
Would that be land use?
well, Catherine, I believe, was involved in it.
Uh-huh.
I think Chuck went down there as well. I know Leanne took a drive by too, but I thought it had been resolved.
They're back there and they have a lot of like bureaus and furniture and things along the edge of the road out there.
I think it's all that's been cleaned up.
It was there today.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah. There was a couple of headboards,
Yeah.
a bureau-like looking
Yeah.
thing, and then a couple of, I don't know, I can't, it's just scrap stuff that's there in the
It's like a
corner.
trash
Junk stuff.
violation.
Yeah, there's a,
Junk.
yeah, there's a motorcycle there as well, right? I mean, nearby, it's,
Jump. That's it for me.
circling back, Mr. Scanlon.
Okay, so a couple things are going on since we've been here last. So the planning board met on the preservation that's moving along pretty well. There were some residents from Tilton as well as Belmont and on the lake that had some questions. It seemed like there had been some communication from the last meeting with the preservation, and they did make some changes to the plan, set back on a septic tank, some of the other things with the lawn area and keeping trees and the work with DES and keeping certain trees that would be good nesting for the eagles and that. And that's got a continuance, and I don't have the date right here, but that's coming up again soon. I don't know if Pat brought it up, but the installation is done at the senior center. I stopped by during the day or middle of the afternoon when they were still working on it. The guys were doing looked like a very thorough job. They were doing things very neatly, and they had the holes cut, the siding off, and they had special plugs for them. And the guy was showing me, how they were filling it and that. And one fellow came down from the attic. He was a little dusty. Apparently, there's a good number of bats situation up there that
A lot of
just,
them.
and Joe and I saw squirrels in the building next door. So, it's an old building, and I think we have ongoing problems with that, but
So
it is all insulated, so we'll have to work from there.
I was just gonna say, so I did talk to Trevor from USA Insulation. He had not heard about the situation with the bat. He called back and left a message and said that he had talked to the guy who did the insulation, and that there was one bat that they had seen. He said one bat. And they recommended that you either put a trap or you put either put a steel screen on the, what do you call that?
Shutter ends, the gable end.
Yeah, the gable end, so they can't get in, or put a door and that they can go out, but they can't get back in.
We got one of those at the Gables.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's what they reported.
Well, he
They
said there's
they only
several.
saw one.
Yeah, if it's a
Okay.
concern too, I know that the University of New Hampshire, because of the way they, for the last 5 years, they've been just analyzing the bat population because they've been up with us at the school. They might come and take a look at it and be able to trap it and rehome it.
And so we did follow up, and GP Pest can come out and, put in a trap or put in a, whatever you want. If you want them to do that, then we'll have to figure out what that's gonna cost. And
Yeah, we should do that.
Well, one of the things is it's hard to find where the rafters are now, I'm sure, because, that insulation's really deep and it's an old building, so you don't know where you are. So if you walk through the insulation to try and find the rafter, you could come right through the tin ceiling. So perhaps there's something they can do from the exterior, because it's pretty well sealed with the metal roof. So there's only so many areas left. But anyway, it's done, and I'm sure they'll be a lot more comfortable in there. Thanks everybody for keeping that going. The Winnisquam Watershed Network, they did a little discussion after the planning board meeting. They're trying to control a lot of the turbidity in the water. That's a lot of silt is filling in areas and trying to make the water better. There's also been approval for money to study the coffer dam thing at the end of Silver Lake. I think it was like $500 and something thousand for engineering to take a look at that. So that is being looked at. So that's another thing. And at the Conservation Commission meeting, that was also a hearing on the preserve, and all that went well. Just quite a few people attended. And then it was followed up with Juliet, our rep, that brought in, and I can't remember the fellow's name, but there was a bill that went before the legislature to create a thing to control invasive species. And one in particular is your Japanese knotweed or bamboo. One of the things they're doing is that they're going to start mapping it, and there's an app now that you can have on your phone, and you can take a picture and it'll have the GPS, so they can start tracking where it's real bad.
Do you have a link to that, John?
Probably on the Conservation Commission website. But
Right.
yeah, I didn't wear them all down. Information seats. The other thing is they're doing a fast track for public works employees that wish to get like a lower level of invasive species license for treating invasive species on public property in our town. Most locations where we have it is actually on state controlled property on the side of the state roads. We're not doing real bad, but we should keep an eye on it and, make sure it doesn't take over. I'm sure you've all seen it on the side of, drive out towards Hill and.
I've got some on my property.
Yeah. So, and he was so good with that. Now, some information on the Conservation Commission website on that. That's about, and apparently I saw on Facebook, the spa thing with the flamingos around the island.
Yeah.
Which led me to believe that might actually be a good fundraiser. If people want to purchase a flamingo or something and raise some money towards some of the stuff.
I like it.
And get their name put on a flamingo or something. When in 2024, it's you can claim your flamingo. Be the first ones to walk across the bridge or something. But by 2023, we'll know in a few weeks. That's about it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Scanlon. I don't have anything this week that can't wait till the next meeting, so we'll move on. I would, I think that we should at least approve one set of minutes this evening. If we could do that, it goes back, 8/18 was the furthest back. So I'd say let's take a look at the 8/18 minutes.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes of 8/18 as written.
Second.
Hang on. I
I have several problems with them.
had, I think it was July 21st. was one that didn't. Yeah. Hang on. Oh, no, maybe not. Is it here?
August 4th.
8/18. Here, we can look at. Yeah, I have some amendments to that, 82.
So we got motion second, so discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to amend the motion to include let's see, on page 3, the last sentence, delete the word the RSA and replace with a paper from kellywarnerlaw.com.
Percentage of what?
So page 3,
Yeah, I got that.
yeah, last sentence,
Yep.
delete the word the RSA and replace with a paper from kellywarnerlaw.com.
Paper from Kelly Warner. Do you have that all written down?
Yeah, I got a few things.
kellywarnerlaw.com? Okay.
I can pass, want me to hand these around, be easier. Where is it? 18. Let's see. This one. Those are the amendments. I think I have them. Okay, the first on page 2, paragraph 4, after ZBA in the Selectmen, enter Selectman Pyra read from the map.
What's that mean? I don't remember.
If you read page 2,
I'm on the
paragraph
paragraph.
4, after ZBA in the Selectmen.
After that, and the selectmen, you want to insert Selectman Pyra read from the map?
Yeah, right in there, put that right in there. We got the timeline. And on page 6, third paragraph, after moved closer to the cemetery, Mr.
Wait,
Hobakov.
where are you at?
So page
Yeah,
6, third paragraph,
Mhm.
after moved closer to the cemetery, Mr. Hobakov stated, that is correct. Selectman Pyra asked, did you move the building closer or further? Mr. Hobakov stated, DES required move further from the shoreline. This house moved half a feet, 6 to 7 inches. That was closer. And because it says in there 1 inch, and he stated half a feet, 6 to 7 inches. And that was at 1 hour and 7 minutes and 27 seconds.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's all I had.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion and the amendment presented by Selectman Scanlon, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No,
Motion passes. Would we like to try one more set? 9-1.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of September 1st, 2022 as presented, as written.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Who seconded it?
Second,
Mr.
C,
Byron.
sorry. I used my library voice, sorry.
So I'm going to make a motion to amend. And I've got copies of the amendments. You can check that out. So it'll be replace continued spirited discussion between Selectman Scanlon and Selectman Ruggles, page 6. And that would be this paragraph. No, this page.
Is there a purpose to this, John?
Yeah, if you look at the minutes, it describes that I was being unethical, and this is my response to being unethical. It was, everything that I said was just written as continued spirited discussion, and instead of putting anything I said. So I wanted to make sure that as I explained myself and not being unethical, that was included in there.
Any further discussion?
I haven't finished reading them yet. I guess if you're the one that she likes, then you're printed in the minutes. If you're not printed in the minutes.
There's no need to make disparaging
I'm not
comments
making
like
this,
that.
I made a fact. Simple as that.
I call the question.
Question has been called. All those in favor of the motion and the amendment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay,
Motion passes.
let the record show.
Should we try for the last set?
What?
No, let's
Why
table it.
not?
9:15.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of September 15th, 2022 as written.
Second.
Motion and a second by Selectman Fire. Discussion.
Let me read it. On page 1 of 6, where it says the board all individually voiced they did not have enough information regarding costs to be able to fully discuss and make a decision on the property swap. If you remember, the conversation came to when Mr. Silly was talking about what he wanted with the fire, what the plan was, what Plan A was, what Plan B was. And then Mr. Jessamine gave his personal opinion about what he thought he would like to see. And then another selectman gave his personal opinion. And then I said, I think that we should probably perhaps talk about this in non-public as it's real estate and so on and so forth. And this is very important because this should be in the minutes. It was said and it was the discussion, so the board all individually voiced, they did not all individually voice, they did not have enough information. I specifically said, we need to stop the conversation and have this in non-public because we cannot individually voice our opinions.
You did say about going into non-public. As far as having an opinion, I reserve the right to state my own opinion. I didn't speak for the board. I was very clear about not speaking for the board.
I didn't say that you couldn't have I'm not saying that, Joe. What I'm saying is here, it's written that the board all individually voiced they did not have enough information. That's not so. That's not what happened. You individually voiced your opinion.
Mhm.
That's what you did.
I did.
Right. Nobody's saying that's wrong or right. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I interjected after another selectman did and said, we ought to take this up in non-public because we as a board need to have a collective decision. So I'm not.
Because it was overpriced.
Right, exactly, right. And that's what needs to happen. So that needs to be corrected there.
So these minutes were not done by Gail. I will ask her to listen to that section and elaborate on it.
Why you want to wait on these until had a chance to?
I thought
Listen to
everybody
the
had
tape.
got these by the deadline to look at everything.
On page 6 of 6 on the second,
You say, everybody's saying 1 of 6 and 6 of 6. I have 7 pages.
well, it says second non-public session, so it's probably on the last page.
Okay.
I just would, I believe that's the part where I left the meeting. I recused myself and went downstairs. I don't remember if it was that part or,
Yeah, that would have been because that's,
Well, we were in non-public when you did that because we had other things we were talking about.
oh.
And then you left.
I thought we went specifically in for,
We had a conversation and then you left.
you just want it noted that you weren't there. Yeah,
Right.
I can do that.
On page 505,
5 of 6.
5 of 6.
so
where it starts out, Jeannie explains a revised quote for
What
JP Carr,
page?
5 of 6.
I got 5
So
or
it
6.
says respectfully, Pat Constantino, no discussion took place as a paragraph, then the next paragraph.
Okay, so what are we looking at? I heard that. Where are the changes?
It says Jeannie explains a revised quote from JP Carter.
Oh, ARCA.
It says ARCA funds.
ARPA. See, ARCA, like gas stations. It's ARCA.
What's our code?
I call the question.
Question has been called. All those in favor of the motion with the appropriate corrections, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Just a question on that. I think,
Still didn't get my corrections in.
it was mentioned that she'd go over it and word it properly. You mentioned that somebody could go over because the wording to the amendment,
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Yeah.
All right,
but we just approved the amendment.
With the appropriate corrections.
I
Okay.
With the
still have
appropriate-
another
yeah,
correction here.
Is there,
A question had been called. by Selectman Jessamine.
Well, then the minutes are wrong then. Make a motion that we reconsider the minutes of September 1st.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Of when?
September 1st.
Oh,
September 1st?
Yeah, that's what we're working on, right?
No.
No, we were on the 15th.
we're on the 15th.
All right, September 15th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Okay. Vicky Virgin Food Drive,
Where are you at?
last page.
Is that 6 or 7? 'Cause I have
6.
7 pages. Okay.
Vicky Virgin Food Drive, run by the Family Resource Center, will be held on either Saturday, October 8th, or Saturday, October 28th. Final date is to be determined by, it's not run by the Family Resource Center. Vicky Virgin Food Drive.
Used to be run by the town because you and
It's run by
I
the
used to
town.
work on it.
It's still run by the town, but it's
Someone
going-
Facilitated. by-
facilitated.
So somebody, just as a FYI, somebody must have said that because I have to say she did a really good job.
She did an excellent job.
So when
it's-
you say things,
I know, but it's not run
And-
by the town,
no,
run by the.
I
Family
understand that,
Resource.
but she's writing what she's hearing,
What she heard.
right,
Hmm.
You can't
So that was
interpret
what was
what
said.
she hears.
right.
how do you do that?
What's that?
If the date or something's is wrong,
Yeah, I think you just, when you say things that, that they're said correctly, I guess, but, I think here you could just say that, I don't know if you want to say that it was misspoken and it's run by the town. But you know what I'm saying? It's what she heard, so it's what she wrote. So she technically wasn't wrong in her minutes, you know what I'm saying? But I understand what you're saying, that's not right, so it was just said wrong, so.
Yeah.
It would seem as though you can't add stuff into the minutes that didn't actually occur at the meeting.
Right.
If it's in error, that will be corrected in these minutes right now.
Which is what we're doing.
Right.
There you go. I don't think we need to go any further, do we?
Is that it?
That's it.
Any new business?
What did we vote on? Yeah.
Oh, there was a motion on the floor. So, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
So, just one thing, that Eversource document that I'll be sending to you, if you could look at it quickly, because I don't want to miss an opportunity to get those funds. So,
Oh, that's for the money from the lights, and the rebate.
You can send the
Okay.
money to be able to get the refund.
Usually, so the weekend I get to that stuff.
New business. Mr. Jessen,
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
second, motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I didn't allow discussion.
Yesterday, I delivered a bunch of soda.
Well, let's think about it.
I didn't allow
Senior
discussion.
center.
Come on.
I had to go up the road to concerts. And also, somebody donated,
Sure.
I don't know exactly what you call it.
Yeah.
It's about yay long and it's white. And
There was a, when I went downstairs,
it's to assist with the
Amazon or something dropped off a
thing.
package in between the doors. I put it on the counter, it's for
In the
$2.55.
outfit. And there's one locked, there's one completely locked.
Yeah, I think it's for the
Oh.
onions or something.
Oh.
I think that's
And
$2.55.
knew it, and maybe she
No,
was.
that's
well, you
different
know,
from the
yeah.
town.
Dark out,
But she
things
told
aren't
me
lit
I
very
knew
well.
it.
Was it chewy?
It was on
No,
this,
no, it was like it's almost like a picture, it looks like a picture.
I didn't know what chewy was. I was at the customer's house and they showed me chewy, and the dog was so excited. And I was like, wait a minute, I think I figured that one. They know what it is.
Or what's the other one?
Well, there's both of us. So you want to do like, no, that name.
I don't know, but I'm pretty scared to get near my cat. It might be radioactive.
Oh, yeah.
3 out of
That's-
5
They made
selectmen
a
and
mistake.
majority of one. Yeah, okay.
Whoever did that.
Whatever it was that
And
we
then I'll cover this
But
stuff
it's,
you didn't get.
that